No matter where you live has never mattered more. For over 100 years, realtors have brought local knowledge and deep expertise to helping people find new places to dream and thrive. The next great place you'll call home. So whether you're upsizing, downsizing, or just ready to make a change, look for the R.
It takes a real estate expert to find the right 2,000 square feet in a neighborhood where kids can be kids, land softly, and grow up not so fast, please. A place to laugh together and make a lifetime of memories. And it all starts with a realtor, guided by a code of ethics.
So, can you picture it?
And the doors you open together. Before the friends and the laughter and the nights you'll always remember, there's a realtor guided by a code of ethics and the doors you open together.
I think you're gonna love this.
I think you're right.
No matter where you live has never mattered more. For over 100 years, realtors have brought local knowledge and deep expertise to helping people find new places to dream and thrive. The next great place you'll call home. So whether you're upsizing, downsizing, or just ready to make a change, look for the R.
Please welcome your Regional Vice President, Tiffany Mygansky.
Welcome and good morning, Region 12. I am Tiffany Mygansky, and it's my honor to serve as your Regional Vice President for 2021 and your host for today. Thank you for joining us. We have an amazing meeting planned for you today. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know if you have any questions or comments, we will be utilizing the chat box today. We'll be monitoring the chat feature and hope to get to your questions as time permits. As a region, we have a wealth of individuals who have stepped up to lead. I would like to recognize some of those people today. We all know and love our past RVP, Angie Talent, our Regional Vice President-elect, Dale Chumley, All of our state presidents will be introduced a little later in our program, and our state CEOs. Rosetta Alcantara from Alaska, David Hensley from Idaho, Karen Winkler from Montana, Jenny Pakula from Oregon, and Steve Franks from Washington. We also have 2 Distinguished Service Award recipients in our region. Welcome, Pat and Peggy Ann. Thank you for all that you have done for our Realtor family. What a tremendous group. Thank you all for what you have done and continue to do to serve our region and our Realtor family. We're going to take just a few moments to hear from Sherry Daniels, who will give our invocation. Then we will hear from Michelle Bailey, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And then we will have Alicia Harrison lead us in the Realtor Pledge. I'd like to welcome Sherry. The floor is all yours.
Think like a golfer. I found one of the keys to life on the golf course. Golf course, you might wonder. How could a game that makes grown men cry like babies and throw their clubs like toddlers hold the key to anything but frustration and pain? It's simple, really. The amazing thing about golf is that at the end of the day, golfers don't remember the multitudes of horrible shots they made. All they remember is their one great shot, and this memory inspires them to come back again and again in an attempt to make another great shot. It's no wonder golf is so addicting. I couldn't help but compare this thought process to how many of us approach work and life. Instead of focusing on the one good thing that happened to us each day, we often think about the 100 things that went wrong. Instead of thinking about our successes, we replay our failures over and over again in our mind. If I had only said this, I would have gotten the listing. Why didn't I listen better to my client? I should have made that phone call. The key is to think like a golfer and remember the one great conversation, the one energizing meeting, the one act of kindness, the one meaningful accomplishment, or the one special moment that made you smile, laugh, and cheer. No matter how difficult our days are, there's always a positive moment we can focus on. The key is to remember them, focus on them, and seek them out. Let them inspire you to wake up and take on each day just as you would a golf course, with a positive attitude that it's going to be a great day on the course of life. You'll go through life learning from your mistakes, but remembering and focusing on your successes. Sure, there will be days that make you want to give it up, but the memory of your successes and positive experience will motivate you to come back again and again. You'll forget the 100 things that went wrong. You will remember the one thing that went right. You'll get addicted to the moments that make life the greatest game in the universe, and you will fill yourself with positive energy, happiness, joy, and success.
I have a short poem I wanted to share with you all, just a little reflection on the past. The poem is called American Flag, and it was written by Aaron Ryan. Red and white with 13 stripes reminds us of our past. The colonies so long ago, some thought they'd never last. And then the stars, although they've changed, for the states both old and new, on a field of blue, they're 50 strong, a home for me and you. So wave your flag and show your pride, and never let it fall. And remember why we pledge each day with liberty and justice for all. Please take a moment to join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi, I'm Alicia Harrison, and I am the first Vice President of Washington Realtors. I also have the esteemed honor to be a part of the 2021 class of the National Association of Realtors Leadership Academy. And thank you, Tiffany, for giving me the opportunity to stand before you this afternoon, though virtually, and lead you in the Realtor Pledge. If you could all please raise your right hand and say with me, I am a Realtor. I pledge myself to strive to be honorable and to abide by the golden rule, to strive to serve well my community and through it, my country, to abide by the Realtors Code of Ethics and to strive to conform my conduct to its aspirational ideals, to act honestly in all real estate dealings, to protect the individual right of real estate ownership and to widen the opportunity to enjoy it, to seek better to represent my clients by building my knowledge and competence. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. That was amazing. Our region is certainly blessed with an abundance of inspiring and talented members. All three of these ladies are representing our region and their states as members of the 2021 National Association of Realtors Leadership Academy. What a tremendous honor for us and for them. Thank you again, ladies. Now it is time to approve the minutes for the Regional Caucus meeting on November 12th, 2020 via Zoom. The minutes were distributed as part of this meeting notice and the registration email for this meeting. It is at this time that I would like to ask for unanimous consent for the approval of the minutes. If you are a caucus member and object, we will proceed with the motion and vote for the approval of the minutes. However, this is a more expedient method given our virtual format. If you object, please note your objection in the comments. Seeing no objections, the minutes are approved through unanimous consent. Thank you. I am so excited for our first speaker today. Here to introduce our kickoff speaker is a great friend of mine and mentor who really needs no introduction within our region, Colin Milan from Oregon Realtors, here to introduce our first guest. Good afternoon, Colin. How are you today?
Tiffany, I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me, and great to see all these faces. And I'm hoping we are all the closer for being in person and getting to see each other in the way that we had grown used to and maybe taken too much liberty with. But we're all waiting for that to come back for sure. So looking forward to a great program this afternoon. And it is absolutely my pleasure to introduce a longtime, I think, mentor for a lot of us, and perhaps the longest time since we've seen him in person. We get so used to seeing Dr. Yuen, and we are very excited to hear his outlook on the housing economy and maybe some insight as to what is going on in our crazy market right now. Dr. Yuen is the Chief Economist and Senior Vice President of Research at the National Association of Realtors, and he oversees and is responsible for a wide range of research activity for the association, including NAR's existing home sales statistics, affordability index, which I think is going to be real interesting to see what that looks like right now, and buyer and seller's profile report. He regularly provides commentary on real estate market trends for our 1.4 million realtor members across the country. Without further ado, please welcome Dr. Lawrence Yuen.
Great. Thank you, Colin, for the introduction, and Tiffany for inviting me to participate in this great region. What a great place for outdoor enthusiasts. So many potential activity. The Oregon coast, one of the underrated natural beauties in the country. I've been to Alaska. I think there's a couple of states which I have not been, and Montana is one of them. But I will get to it one of these days. But thank you for having me. What a strong housing market condition. Certainly surprised when the economy reopened in the second half of last year. Home sales not only to recover, but go way beyond the pre-pandemic condition. So a positive surprise in a very difficult, challenging year of COVID. When I say challenging, our life was flipped upside down. We are not back to normal in terms of traveling, going to the ball games or indoor dining, and all that has been disrupted. But possibly crossing our fingers, second half of the year, sometime in autumn, maybe we will reach the herd immunity. The vaccination progress is proceeding very well. I think one unique aspect is America may be one of the first countries to come out and be back to normal. I think many European countries, especially in continental Europe, they could be completely jealous or even angry at their own government, Italy, Spain, and others, if they have a lockdown again in autumn as America is back to normal. So it will be interesting to see some of the, but to focus on the real estate here in America. Well, this morning I was interviewed by CNN for some housing story. Possibly they will air later in the week or next week. And the question was, can you name which market is the hottest in the country? And I said essentially all markets in America is exceptionally hot. But if one has to pinpoint, one would pinpoint Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and the nearby Rocky Mountain states, not your region, but say Arizona, Utah would also be included, because these are the areas where the Californians are moving into. California market itself is hot, but it's becoming highly unaffordable. So some people are seeking either affordability or different quality of life, or maybe a little more peaceful. So wherever the Californians are moving into, you are seeing the strongest price appreciation. And Californians, they are not hesitant to make a much larger down payment and bid up the prices. And certainly you are seeing that in many of your region. Now I speak better with PowerPoint slide. So let me put that onto the screen. So if someone can put that loaded. So let's go to the slide. So home sales, as I mentioned, we saw the surge in the second half of the year after the lockdown. And you can see how it far exceeded the pre-pandemic conditions. But in February, things are beginning to come down a bit. So what does it mean coming down? Well, it just means that home sales have been up about 20% from the prior year. So say October versus October of 1 year prior, it was up about 20%. So moving very solidly, but February data is showing increase of only 10% increase. And possibly March, as we are trying to tally up the number, it may even show a smaller gain. It is still a gain from 1 year ago, but less strongly than before. Now, April, May, June data will be distorted because you are comparing with the depressed condition of the lockdown period in 2020. But at least the February of last year, we are seeing some loss in momentum. Very similar condition for new home sales, which had surged, but the latest data is showing little less strong conditions. So market, is it topping out? Are the buyers getting completely frustrated? Are the buyers getting priced out? Or the higher mortgage rates that we are beginning to see, beginning to squeeze out, those people who simply cannot qualify for the mortgage at a little higher interest rate, marginal buyers are being squeezed out. So is this portending that housing market for the rest of 2021 could soften a bit? Business activity less strong in the second half. Is this what is implying? Well, the answer appears to be no, because realtors, brokers that I speak to are saying they have buyers. What they don't have is this chart, inventory. Inventory at an all-time low, not enough homes for sale, and from consumers, certainly not an ideal condition from a buyer's perspective, where you are not looking at 10 homes and determining which home to buy, but you have to look at only 2 homes and quickly decide, otherwise that home will be sold quickly. So the regular low inventory is hindering the growth in home sales easily. I mean, you can easily imagine 20% more inventory, we have 20% more home sales clicking. The sales are not clicking due to the lack of inventory. Because inventory levels are down, you probably have seen some news story about membership. So I'm overlaying the blue inventory graph with the orange membership numbers, which looks to be reaching an all-time high, where we have more members than the real estate listings. And of course, we have no control over the membership. Some people who may want to try out during this hot real estate market, they're coming into the industry. Some people who may have been laid off, given a try to see if real estate fits into their career path. So at least people are trying. Some people think it's easy business, but as everyone knows, it's not. It takes many, many years to build a referral base, a client base, but at least, some people think it's an easy thing, so they're coming in and giving a try. But we have a very unique situation where we have more members than number of listings. If we look at the price category, the inventory declines are most acute at the lower price points. And especially on, say, $500,000 and below, it is significantly lower. As we move up the price point, the inventory declines are less severe. And in the $1 million and over price category, we actually have more homes available, more choices. So it is not a surprise that home sales on $1 million plus, we are seeing strong growth, almost 80% more home sales transaction on $1 million plus, because there's inventories. At the lower price points, you can see that home sales are actually down in the, say, 500 to 750 range. Home sales are up because inventory declines are less severe. But of course, that's drawing down the overall inventory condition. But this is clearly illustrating that we are topping out in home sales, not because of lack of buyer enthusiasm or buyer's caution, but we simply don't have inventory. If we had more inventory, we can get more home sales clicking. Another illustration is days on the market. From time homes are listed until a contract is signed, generally during winter months, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Americans want to take a time out, spend time with family. So the days on the market always rises during the winter months. Not this winter. As you can see on the chart, days on the market actually became swifter during winter. So very, very fast moving market with no pause this winter. One concern going forward is rising mortgage rates, as illustrated by the red line. As you talk with your clients, or maybe you talk with your agents who will talk with the clients, they need to understand the record low mortgage rates of 2.7% that we saw in December, January, those days are over. Some of them who obtained those rates, congratulate them. They got the bonus rates. Right now, the mortgage rates are trending up, and longer person waits is likely to be higher. I forecast mortgage rates will be about 3.5% by December. It's higher, and you may begin to say, well, that's going to squeeze out a lot of buyers. But at the same time, 3.5% mortgage rates in December, take a deep breather, take a step back and say, 3.5%? No, that's pretty good in the long term. So some people may have missed out on 2.7%, but 3.5% is certainly a good deal, especially in a job-creating environment. And the reason why the mortgage rates are rising is that blue line is rising. That's the U.S. government borrowing rate. Some of the bond investors are getting a little nervous, large budget deficit, high national debt, financed partly with printing of the money. And they are saying, you know what? You have to pay me a little higher interest rate in order for me to buy U.S. government debt. So the rising blue line always means rising red line. But note also the gap between the red and the blue is becoming very narrow, which means more, again, it's going to push up the red line a little upwards. So there will be more pressure for mortgage rates to rise in the upcoming months. But I don't see it reaching, say, 4% anytime this year. And 3.5% mortgage rate is my forecast to December. Reason why the mortgage rate would also be rising is inflation looks to be picking up. I had to send this PowerPoint a little earlier for the production team to get it ready, so I did not incorporate yesterday's data. Yesterday's data show consumer price inflation exceeding 2%. The Federal Reserve and the Biden administration Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who used to work at Federal Reserve, has changed some of their language. They're today saying that we will no longer consider 2% inflation as the maximum. we will consider 2% to be average. What does that mean? Federal Reserve will tolerate 3% inflation or 4% inflation as long as it averages out to be 2%. Because in the prior year, we had essentially no inflation, zero. So you average 0 with 4, you get an average of 2. So they will tolerate higher inflation. But higher inflation also means higher mortgage rates. Just remember the 1970s when people had 10% mortgage rate, 12% mortgage rate. Why? Because inflation rates were higher. And what is the likelihood that inflation rate will continue to increase? Well, the oil prices are rising. And in fact, gasoline prices today are at 5-year high. I know the realtors have to drive long distances, especially in your region with a big state, so you have to drive longer distance. So this is going to pinch some of the pocketbook of the realtors in terms of rising gasoline prices. But one other factor as to rise in the inflationary pressure is that rents will surely rise. We had a housing shortage, not only in the home ownership, but apartment vacancy rates were running very low before the pandemic. But once the pandemic hit, people lost jobs. Many young people went straight to parents' basement. And that's why the rents were falling. So the rents were falling in the latter portion of 2020 because people who lost jobs went straight to parents' basement. But what are we seeing regarding rental demand? Rental demand is now beginning to pop out again because of job creating environment. So if the rental demand will pop out, it is just inevitable. This rent will steadily pick up. So rent growth had been 4%. During the pandemic, it only went to 2%, but now I think soon it will get back to that housing shortage, apartment shortage again, and the rents will be rising. And this will further put upward pressure on inflation. High inflation, lenders will charge high mortgage rates. So this is not a good news regarding the forecast for mortgage rates. I know that Charlie Oppler will be speaker later today. Charlie Oppler had a meeting with the White House economic team last week, along with some large brokers. And one of the questions that was asked was whether this inflation will be persisting. And the White House view is they believe that inflation will be transitory, meaning that it will rise somewhat, then it will quickly decline again. I'm not sure if that will be the case, especially with the rental demand returning. So inflation rate could remain stubbornly high. One of the reason why Charlie Oppler had a meeting with the White House staff is not only to get their perspective, but also to mention about our goal about the inventory shortage, how this could limit the home ownership opportunity, and just pose the question, would the White House consider reducing the capital gains tax for investor sale to a first-time buyer, given that we have to give some incentive for the investors to unload and not be saddled with large capital gains tax. And the response was, well, capital gains tax, their plan is to raise, not to lower, but they would like to see some data point about the real estate. And based on what our lobbyists are indicating, they're saying some congressional staff, both Republicans and Democrats, provided there is some income limitation, meaning that the real estate investor is not a millionaire, but say making $80,000 a year, maybe they would consider reducing capital gains tax on a sale of investor real estate so we can have more inventory, but it remains to be seen. I don't know, what the chances of that, but they want to see more data on the potential impact. So we will certainly be providing some of that part. And we reemphasize the importance of 1031 exchange because home builders need to purchase land. And based on our data, we are finding that good portion of land sales are done through 1031 exchange. So without 1031 exchange, you could limit land sale to the builders. And if the builders don't have land, it's harder to build homes because we need more inventory. Let me go now quickly to the job market. This is the job market. We lost 20 million jobs in April of last year, this time last year during the lockdown. Some job creation, things were fizzling out, but now things are beginning to pick up again. Stimulus after stimulus after stimulus, that is trying to support the economy. But that is also raising the budget deficit. So pinching mortgage rate a little upwards, so all the balancing act that one has to do. If one looks at all 50 states, what one finds is that maybe on the screen, a little difficult to see, but Idaho and Utah are only two states that have more jobs today compared to pre-pandemic. Montana, it looks like it's down about 2%. Washington down, even from here, my angle is hard to see, down maybe 6%. Oregon maybe down, but you will have this PowerPoint deck so you can see it a little more. There it goes. Washington down 6%, Oregon down 7.8%. Alaska is down 7% because oil prices are rising now, but it had fallen last year, so that had hurt some employment. So you see some variation. And also note, Hawaii is down massively because people cannot travel. Nevada, people are not traveling to Las Vegas. But New York, because Governor Cuomo had a very strict lockdown for longer period and has hurt the economy. And of course, he had a stricter lockdown in order to contain the virus. But you see the state-by-state variation across the country. If we look at the job market also differently, is the following. This is the 20-year job picture for the U.S. And I want you to compare U.S. with your state. So look at the red line. Red line is year 2000, and then the foreclosure crisis, and then the lockdown period. So you see how the red line touches like this. So that's the US. So let's go state by state in region 12. Alaska. First, it doesn't follow a US pattern. It has its own dynamics, essentially a fairly straight line, and then the pandemic really brought it down. So Alaska, it looks like they did not go through the foreclosure crisis during the middle of the year 2010 period. Then let's go to Washington. First 10 years of the decade, it looks very similar to the US. But then boom, in the recent 10 years, huge increase. Lockdown, but they're coming out. But look how far Washington is above the red line. Oregon. Year 2000, hard to believe. I remember back in year 2000, they said Oregon consistently had the highest unemployment rate in the country. The lumber industry, shut down, anything, but Oregon has transformed itself into a technology state, and the job growth in the 2010 to recently very, very strong, especially with the Californians migrating into the state. Idaho, one of the best performer in terms of percentage gains, and you can see the last data point actually above 1 year ago. And Montana also consistently above the red line. So the region 12 states are doing just better than rest of the country in terms of the overall job performance. So let me wrap it up with a forecast. Forecast is that first quarter data we're tallying up, it looks to be about 12 to 15% increase in unit sales from 1 year prior. Second quarter will be up massively because it's comparing with the lockdown period of spring of last year. Third quarter, no change. Fourth quarter, I actually have sales coming down 10% from fourth quarter of 2020 because of higher mortgage rates. Mortgage rate will begin to squeeze out buyers. If you assume that this is a reasonable forecast, what you will see is that home sales in 2021 annual total will be up 10% from 1 year before. So because this year we have spring buying season, last year we did not have spring buying season. And that is the key difference as to why home sales are popping out. So great backdrop for the realtors across the region. And one final slide is that office leasing is really coming down. We know that jobs are recovering, but many firms refuse to take out more leasing space. In fact, they're unloading some of the subleasing space onto the market. Many of the office tenants are still paying rent, but the office buildings are remaining empty. Those skyscrapers in Seattle are pretty much empty because people are working from home. Office workers overall have been immune from the recession, but they're working from home. But this also changes the dynamics. I have heard from technology companies in the Bay Area, you can work from home forever. I think Microsoft is taking application from their employees about why they could work from home on more days, and they will review and approve or deny whatever they're going to do. So, but there's this trend of possible working from home flexibility. I don't think we will have a return of 5 days a week, come to office, fight those traffic jams. I think it's going to be some hybrid, maybe 3 days a week in office, 2 days working from home. I'm not sure, maybe it will be trial and error. But if there is some degree of work from home flexibility, one can easily imagine that from high cost areas, wanting to go into more outlying suburbs where homes are more affordable, and also home building is easier in the outlying areas. So this could be a trend. Maybe it could hurt Seattle downtown or Portland downtown, but I think overall Region 12 will benefit, especially as California, high cost people from California continue to move in to your region. So just my final forecast is that 2021 forecast, last column, mortgage rate rising, new home sales up 20%, existing home sales up 10%. I went through the logic. Home prices in no danger of declining, continuing to increase. So overall business revenue rising by 17%. So I want to stop there. So thank you for, again, inviting, and thanks for listening.
Dr. Yoon, thank you so much. We are so grateful for your perspective, your insight, your expertise. We do have a few questions from our members. Our first question is from Rick Harris. Dr. Yoon, what market impacts do you see because of the decision by Fannie and Freddie to limit investor or second home loans to 7% of their portfolio? Rick indicates that it's causing havoc in his market. So what do you see there?
I think one of the reasons for that is maybe Fannie and Freddie, remembering the 10 years ago when they were settled with big losses after the huge price increases and subsequent decline in prices. So they want to take little safety measures. Right now, I mean, it's not anything resembling the 10 years ago because we don't have subprime lending, we don't have overbuilding, home prices are in no danger of declining. So Fannie and Freddie portfolio, their condition is all fine from my perspective. But the interesting part is that it's going to hurt some of the second home purchases, especially in the vacation home resort regions. But right now, given that we have inventory shortage, whatever loan that is not made to second home buyers are easily being filled by first-time buyers or the repeat buyers, so primary home ownership. So it's not going to hurt the housing market. It's just going to change some of the small dialing in the second home versus primary residence. Now, I will say that many of the second home buyers are also coming up with large cash, large down payment. So how much of the impact will the Fannie and Freddie lead to it remains to be seen. I believe the current NAR policy is to say, no, we don't want a reduction in those second home mortgage portfolio from Fannie and Freddie. They should keep it as is because once Fannie and Freddie begin to change some of the dialing, then you never know. They may never push up the dial when we need it. So when the housing market demand softens with much higher mortgage rate, let's say 3 years from now, we need second home buyers, but Fannie and Freddie may not dial that up. So we have to be very cautious about whether this is a one-time dialing or there could be some bureaucratic inertia where they make one change and they refuse to return it back to normal when the conditions require.
Excellent. We have another question from Jim. Jim asks, what do you expect the impact of the eviction and the foreclosure moratorium? What's the impact of that going to be, and when do you think we might start to see that impact if there is going to be one?
Well, in the U.S. Constitution, there is a clause someplace about eminent domain. You cannot take people's property without just compensation. But right now, with the eviction moratorium, one is essentially saying, landlords, we don't care about you, the part. Now, eviction moratorium itself, I mean, we don't want people to catch COVID, difficult economic conditions. So we have eviction moratorium. And people can say that's a proper policy, but we need to make sure that landlords are not left to dry, which is the reason why NAR lobbyists will, through all your leadership and your communication to us, to say, assure that rental subsidy is there so that if people cannot be evicted, at least landlords are made whole, they can collect rent. And we will continue to push on any new stimulus that if the eviction moratorium is extended, that the landlords are not left dry, because they should be able to get a return on their investment. But the one part is, some of the real estate investor, I felt that maybe because of this friction in the market related to eviction moratorium, that we may begin to see more property listings from the real estate investors who wanted to unload. But so far, we have not seen that.
We have a follow-up to that question. Drew asks, in a follow-up to Jim's question, what volume of foreclosures, short sales, or just listings in general hitting the market are as a result of the foreclosure moratorium ending?
The inventory overall for the country is 1 million. There are 2.5 million people in mortgage forbearance condition. It used to be 5 million at the early months of the pandemic. And one can say that's the right policy, given that so many people lost jobs and we don't want people to lose home. So one can skip mortgage payment by demonstrating economic hardship. Now, given that 5 million mortgage forbearance number to now 2.5 million means 2.5 million Americans found a job. That's very good. With longer time period, more people will find job and there will be even fewer. But some people, I think once that program winds down, that they may have to list their home. And in the normal condition, they may go into foreclosures. But in the Region 12, where the price increases have been substantial, I think people who have to sell their home as the mortgage forbearance period comes to an end could be just simply a normal sale because of the price increases and not a foreclosure sale. So they will still be able to extract equity out of it from the sale. Furthermore, I estimate that because of the mortgage forbearance, that we are probably short by 200,000 inventory. That's about 20% inventory. I remember I had mentioned earlier, if we had 20% more inventory today, think about it in your market, 20% inventory in your market, you would have 20% more sales. It's just right now the demand is very strong. So the mortgage forbearance period right now, I believe, is holding back about 20% growth potential in the inventory. But I don't really see it as leading to any foreclosure crisis, because first it will be a normal sale. And for people who happen to be underwater, there are plenty of buyers. Those foreclosure homes will not linger in the marketplace for a long period.
That's really excellent news for our region. That leads me to a question that Angie has asked. Are there any areas that we're seeing reduction in prices? And do you expect to have any regions having challenges after the moratorium? So after you just answered that, I guess the answer kind of is no. But are you seeing prices decrease in any region or any area across the United States?
So price increases in New York City, directly in the New York City area, initially declined, but now it's climbing back. I thought that San Francisco would see some price decline, but now it's coming back again. It's showing very strong conditions. So we are not really seeing it, but in terms of relative price increases, where prices are rising more slowly, I mean, Alaska is one of the areas where the prices are rising slowly. Hawaii, interestingly, even with high unemployment condition, the prices are rising in Hawaii as people are seeking second home, vacation home, or maybe work from home flexibility from Hawaii. So the housing demand in Hawaii remains very strong. So even with high unemployment in Hawaii, prices are still rising. But relatively speaking, given Angie is from Alaska, that Alaska is showing more moderate price growth.
Excellent. We have another question from Colin. Colin asks, what is causing the huge surge in raw material costs for builders? Is it consumer demand for home products and projects, increasing tariffs on the import goods, or slower supply due to the pandemic?
So many of the lumber companies in the U.S., when the pandemic hit, they were really afraid of excess inventory, so they shut the plant down for a couple of months. Now they are trying to catch up. But the Canadian lumber tariff, that is completely unnecessary, because if we import more Canadian lumber at reduced prices without tariff, it means more job creation in the Seattle area, more job creation in Idaho. Those are American job creation, construction job creation that could occur using Canadian lumber, but because of the tariff, it's just making the cost of the constructing the home a little excessive high, and therefore the building activity, even though it's on a rising trend, is not completely moving to even higher plane if we had a lower material cost or lower lumber prices. But it takes time to get those materials and lumber domestically. But in the interim, maybe we can import some foreign products, because it means U.S. job creation.
Dr. Yun, we just have a few minutes left. A question on the positive note. Are there positive trends in the economy we should be excited about?
So the excitement is really about the vaccination program. I mean, I perfectly understand people are cautious about the vaccination, but it looks like, based on the numbers, with each day, roughly 2 or 3 million people getting vaccinated, reaching that herd immunity, because the amount of savings that Americans have done. This is the first U.S. recession where average Americans have more income than before the recession. Every past recession saw American income decline, but because of the massive stimulus 1, stimulus 2, stimulus 3, that average Americans have more income, but they have not been spending it. So the money saved up in the bank account is huge. All that will be unleashed back into the economy once we reach the herd immunity. Now, I also want to qualify the remark that there's always question. I have seen families in the lines at the food bank. They have not been paying their rent. So we know that there are people who are struggling. But on average, this is the first recession in U.S. history. Average American have more income, but they have been saving that money until the economy fully reopens up.
Excellent. Dr. Yun, we are so fortunate to have such a brilliant partner with you through NAR. We are thankful that you were able to join us today, sharing your insights with our members. This is the number one request for slides. I have a request in the chat box that will there be slides available? We are recording this entire presentation, and we will make it available to the State Association to disseminate. But will your slides be available to us to send off to the members as well?
Most welcome. So, yes.
Excellent. Thank you again. We so enjoy having you with us, always at Region 12 and in our states. We hope you're healthy and happy and safe, and thank you again for fitting us in to your schedule today.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you. Have a great day. All right. Excellent. One of my favorite presenters. Absolutely. Our next presenter, of course, is no stranger to Region 12. He has been our liaison for more than the last 2 years now, and it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Mark Gould. Mark is the Senior Vice President of Member Development for NAR and oversees a wide range of leadership and professional development programs for us as realtors. Since joining NAR in 2006, Mark has launched both the Commitment to Excellence program and the Center for Financial Wellness. Mark earned his MBA from La Jolla University and his University of Chicago and his BA in Political Science from the University of Michigan. He achieved the rank of Major as an officer in the United States Army, serving in positions as varied as platoon leader in an infantry battalion to command staff at the brigade level. Mark, first, I want to thank you for your service to our country and your service to our realtor family. It's a pleasure to have Mark with us here today. So, Mark, welcome, and the floor is all yours.
Hi, welcome to my house in Chicago. I miss all of you and wish we were together. I know when the pandemic's over, we'll find a time and a place where we can all come together, and the first round's on me. There are a few things I want to talk about today, some programs and initiatives at NAR that are important to you, helpful to your business, and also those in your state and your office. The first thing I want to talk about is fair housing. Our industry's viability depends on the free, fair, transparent, and efficient transfer of property in this country. Fair housing protections are vital to advance our nation's progress towards thriving and inclusive communities. The issues of fair housing and racial discrimination are complex and deep-rooted, and there are problems that can't be solved by any one person, politician, or policy. But as the largest trade association in the world, NAR will continue to use our powerful voice to champion efforts that encourage diversity and build more inclusive communities. In January 2020, we implemented our ACT plan, which emphasizes accountability, culture change, and training to ensure realtors are doing everything possible to protect housing rights in America. Give me a couple minutes to talk about two programs in particular, Fair Haven and the new President Oppler Stand Up for Racial Equity Challenge. First, let's talk a little bit about Fair Haven. I know there's a video, if we could roll it, please.
It has been more than 50 years since America passed the Fair Housing Act, but we have far more work to do to eliminate discrimination in real estate. Welcome to Fair Haven, a new fair housing learning experience from NAR. Fair Haven simulated scenarios will challenge you to confront bias in yourself, in clients, and in other real estate professionals. After your trip to Fair Haven, you'll see the world differently, and you'll be better prepared to tackle discrimination in real estate. Fair Haven, the next stop on your fair housing journey.
Thank you. During the 2020 Realtors Conference and Expo last year, NAR released a new interactive training platform designed to help combat discrimination in America's real estate market. So far, 7,000 realtors have logged onto the simulation, and more than half have completed their journey. As industry leaders in support of fair housing initiatives, NAR is making this resource available at no cost to real estate professionals, and will also offer it directly to NAR members, brokerages, and realtor associations. So if you or your office or your brokerage or your association has your own learning management system, let me know, and there are ways that we can load the program directly on, and no one needs to link out to nar.realtor. Along the way, participants on the platform will go through a simulation where they encounter various scenarios as it relates to fair housing, both as a realtor, and then also there will be times when you go through the program and you're in the footsteps of the consumer. There's also really powerful videos as a follow-up to show what happened in New York, Long Island, New York, and how some minorities were treated differently than others. You can find this at fairhaven.realtor. The next program I want to talk to you about is brand new, and it's President Oppler's Challenge to Stand Up for Racial Equity. NAR President Charlie Oppler is issuing a challenge to all NAR volunteer leaders, which is all committee members, the chairs and vice chairs of the NAR committees, liaisons, RVPs, the executive committee, and NAR's board of directors and the leadership team to complete 3 programs. Fair Haven, which I just mentioned, the implicit bias training, which is about a 50-minute video, and then also the opportunity to take the At Home with Diversity course and earn the certification. Completing these 3 programs will empower realtors to recognize and check their own biases, honor the Fair Housing Act, and work to end discrimination in housing one interaction at a time. As leaders of NAR in our industry, it's up to us to set the example for our fellow members. So please join Charlie, NAR leaders, for standing up for racial equity. All this information will be posted at nar.realtor, and I'll make sure that you have the link. The goal is to have everything completed by April, certainly before the May meetings, the May virtual meetings. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about was NAR Center for Realtor Financial Wellness. There are a couple of new programs, and it's also a great opportunity right now to review your finances, where you're at, where you want to go, and to know and understand some of the tools that are available to you through your association. The Center for Realtor Financial Wellness is a resource designed to help realtors maximize their wealth and work towards achieving retirement dreams. The Center for Realtor Financial Wellness is one of the most effective and widely used resources that realtors have at their fingertips. You can start by taking an online financial assessment, receiving personalized financial planning goals, and also exploring evolving retirement and investing resources. The platform also includes a robust resource library covering topics like retirement planning, real estate investing, and succession planning. Now, I know that there are other online financial assessments available to you. However, and I was involved with the build of this platform, the simulation that you can go through to get an understanding of where you're at and where you want to go is distinct in a couple of different ways. Number one, it was built by and for realtors. So it's really focused on you and your needs. Number two, the information doesn't go anywhere. There's a report that you'll get at the end. But unlike taking a simulation from a financial institution, it doesn't collect your information, and that information doesn't go to a financial planner that's going to hound you trying to get your business. So it all stays self-contained. The information doesn't go to a broker either. It really, truly is just for you. The other thing I wanted to make sure you knew about was a partnership with Morgan Stanley. So we know that there are only about 52% of members that are actively saving for retirement, actively investing. So we set out to find a partner that we could work with that understands the needs of our members and can offer programs and services for our members. We talked to a number of different companies, and Morgan Stanley is the organization that came back with the most robust package for everybody. They understand our needs, and they're offering programs tailored for us. So there's 3 different financial planning tools that you can opt into if you so choose. The first one, the base one, normally costs $1,000, but the NAR rate will be $300. And that's a one-time, goal-based financial planning consultation. So it's one time. You get in, you get out, you have a conversation, helps you organize, figure out where you want to go and what you want to do. The second option is more of a, we can call it a mid-career financial plan. It would normally cost $2,500, but the NAR rate is $1,000. It's a little spendy, but you get a lot. You get a complete financial plan delivered annually. You get a dedicated financial advisor, and you're going to get feedback and statements, spending analyses, investment strategies, and retirement planning. The third package is what we'll call a late career financial plan, far more robust, the most robust of the 3. Normally, it would cost $5,000. We were able to negotiate a rate of $2,500. And this is a comprehensive financial plan delivered annually with multiple meetings per year, so check-ins, a dedicated financial advisor, estate and wealth planning, and access to additional planning specialists as needed. Realtors can open a Morgan Stanley Access Investing account and view the Center's special offers pages at nar.realtor/CFFW. We also have some financial wellness events taking place in February. Some have already taken place, but all of them are recorded. Frankly, the benefit of going to the recorded ones is you can watch it at any time, any place at your leisure. We're doing a 4-part series that we're calling a tax summit. And it will cover topics ranging from tax tips for your business, ways to spot opportunities in your return to build personal wealth, how to handle complex tax issues when dealing with the IRS, and an overview on tax implications in real estate. You can go to the same website, nar.realtor/CFFW. The last thing I wanted to talk about before we go on to somebody else is the new partnership with Buffini & Company and their 100 Days to Greatness program. It's not a partnership with everything that the Buffini and Company does. It has nothing to do with their coaching arm. It's very specific to their new or recently redone 100 Days to Greatness program, which is great for entry-level realtors and also people maybe at year 2 or 3 that need a kickstart. The 14-week program embeds valuable education resources from NAR and helps new agents set the foundation for a long, successful career in real estate. There also is a discount, so you can save $100 and be able to take advantage of this program. So details are at nar.realtor/Buffini. I know I threw a lot at you, and I wish that I was with you all to be able to discuss these at greater length later on. Can't wait to see you all again soon. Be well, and thank you.
Mark, thank you so much. We can't wait till we get to be with you again soon as well. I wanted just to follow up on a few things that Mark said. I know by reading the chat box, so many of you have taken advantage of the Fairhaven opportunity. You've taken advantage of the At Home with Diversity course. I just want to encourage you to dive in. Be a part of it. It is tools that help us be the best that we can be. Whether you're new to our profession or if you're a veteran for 30 years, there is a lot of excellent information and opportunities for us to improve. I wanted to mention just one more opportunity that we have as a region. The C2EX program. So NAR is challenging all the regions to bring forward and to do the best that they can to increase participation with your members in the C2EX program. So between now and our meeting in November, the region that has the highest increase in participants that have finished the C2EX program, they're going to host a champagne toast for us, hopefully when we're together in November. So I know our region can do this. State presidents, NAR directors, all leaders, everybody joining us today, I encourage you to ask one person and to share the C2EX program with one person, one realtor in your office. And I know our region can win that champagne toast in November. So that's my challenge to you. Mark, thank you again. We appreciate the opportunity for you to be here with us today and to be our liaison for our region. We are blessed to have some amazing partners. For today's event, we have 5 sponsors that have made this program possible, and we are grateful for their support. They provided prizes for today's event. So before we get to our first drawing for a $250 Best Buy gift card, I would love to win that, let's hear a message from one of our sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union.
Home is where you hang your hat, snuggle up, hide out. Home is when you're with the ones you love. It isn't just a place, it's a state of mind. At Idaho Central Credit Union, our home is Idaho. We grew up here, and we're proud to help more Idahoans with their home loan than any other financial institution. Idaho Central Credit Union. We believe home is where you make it.
Thank you, ICCU. And now for our drawing. All of the registrants for today's meeting have been entered into this random prize wheel. So let's give it a spin and see who our winner is. Vicky! Congratulations, Vicky. You are our winner of the $250 gift card to Best Buy. Congratulations. At this time, we are going to take I don't know if we're taking a quick break here. Okay, at this time, actually, our next guest is someone that is very familiar to our region. She has been a great friend and a mentor to me throughout this process. I am happy to introduce Angie Talent, our immediate past RVP, to give us an update from the Region 12 Credentials and Elections Committee. Good afternoon, or good morning, Angie. Good afternoon in Alaska. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Tiffany. And this is awesome. You guys are doing a great job in Idaho. So thank you for this.
Awesome. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Angie, if you would like to go ahead and give us your report, that would be great.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Angie Talent. I'm from Alaska, and I'm the immediate past RVP. And it is my pleasure this year to chair the Region 12 Credentials and Election Committee. I want to take a moment of time to thank our 2021 CEC members. We have Mark Maisley from Alaska, Cindy Hunter from Idaho, Drew Coleman from Oregon, Bill Leininger of Montana, and Kitty Wallace of Washington. So I appreciate all your guys' time, your thoughtfulness for the work that we've already accomplished, and we have some work ahead of us. The heart of a volunteer is never measured in size, but by the depth of the commitment to make a difference in the lives of others. The CEC committee has received 2 applications for the Region 12 Vice President of 2024. The qualifications for becoming a regional vice president are an officer of the National Association of Realtors, include broad leadership experience in both local and state associations. They must have served as a state president or a national president of an NAR institute, society, or council. The applicant must have served as an NAR director and served on an NAR committee. Additionally, the applicants must have other civic and/or governmental activity and experience as would indicate broad leadership ability and potential. So it is my honor to announce that we have 2 qualified candidates for the Region 12 2024 RVP, Evelyn Arnott of Alaska and John Herring of Montana. So thank you both for volunteering. We look forward to hearing from you both in the months to come before our official vote at the Region 12 Fall Caucus in November. Thank you, Tiffany.
Angie, thank you. We are so grateful for your leadership, your love, and your passion for our Realtor family. Okay, now we're going to take a break. We're going to take a few-minute break. I hope you've enjoyed our program so far. Come right back because we have some great presentations yet to come.
It's like they know I'm looking from the outside. I'm creeping to You and I, just yelling off the balcony, late July, just waiting for your friends to leave, and finally, so can we, in the back of the car, trying to stay awake, I can tell from the stars that we're out of LA, with your hand hanging out the window like you're riding on a wave. I'm no good at goodbyes, we're always running away. I've been looking for love in the distance, down the sidewalks, the cities I visit, up the coast looking for something different. All along you were there, but I missed it. I don't know what it is, but I feel good about that. The only thing I ever really think about, and even in the dark I see a light somehow. We're safe and sound, in the back of the car, trying to stay awake. I can tell from the stars that we're out of LA, with your hand hanging out the window like you're riding on a wave. I'm no good at goodbyes, but always running away. I've been looking for love in the distance, down the sidewalks, the cities I visit, up the coast looking for something different. All along you were there, but I missed it. I don't know what it is, but I feel good about that. I feel good about that. You and I, just yelling off the balcony all the time, just waiting for your friends to leave, and finally, so can we.
Welcome back. It is my pleasure to introduce our region's state presidents for our panel discussion on issues and ideas happening in our states. What a wonderful opportunity to hear firsthand from the leaders who are at the forefront of dealing with the challenges that facing our members every day. I would like to welcome Lonnie Logan from Alaska, Cindy Hunter from Idaho, Candace Dorsch from Montana, Drew Coleman from Oregon, and Tom Hormel from Washington. Welcome, everybody. Lonnie, let's start with you. Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lonnie Logan. The personal me. I'm a wife, a mom, a self-proclaimed foodie, and I have a knack for do-it-yourself projects. It truly is an honor to serve as the Alaska Realtors President for 2021. We have over 1,700 members and 6 local associations across the state. I'm a second-generation realtor, first licensed in '87 and then again in 1997. And I'm proud that that legacy is continuing as my son is in the process of obtaining his Alaska real estate license. My husband and I are owners of our own brokerage in Anchorage. The doors opened 1 month before COVID, but we're still here. We believe that real estate business gives us back as much as we put into it. And I love what I do as a broker, an educator, a mentor, and especially as a volunteer leader for this organization. So I am excited to be here today representing Alaska, and I thank you both, or thank you all for that opportunity.
Lonnie, welcome. Cindy Hunter from Idaho, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name's Cindy Hunter. I'm the 2021 president for Idaho and very proud to be able to serve in this capacity. I've been a realtor for the last 17 years, and it's been a joy just about every single day, except the days that we don't get to see each other. This has been the hardest part of my entire experience as a realtor. We all want to get together. And so hopefully we're going to be able to do that this fall. Sounds like we're going to get to see each other in San Diego. And so I'm looking forward to that. Idaho, this last 2 years, has been named the leading state as far as population growth. And a lot of that growth comes from transplants from other states. Along with that growth, we've also, this year over last, had an 11.2% increase in Realtor members. The thing that I am so proud about is out of the licensees in the state of Idaho, 93% of the licensees are realtors, which to me just says so much about what we can give them, what we do, and the value of being a realtor. And that really is who we are. And so thank you. I'm happy to be here today, and I look forward to the rest of our panel.
Cindy, thank you. Welcome, Candace from Montana.
Tiffany, thank you. Thank you, everybody from Region 12. I cannot tell you how proud I am to represent the Montana Realtors. They're an incredible family, like everybody in our region, growing stronger by probably about 10% membership this year. I hail from Bozeman. I'm a native Montanan, although lived in many parts of the country. I have seen change that's occurred in our great state, in our great region, but we all embrace change. We all love the fact that we can be at the forefront in representing buyers and sellers and clients from around the world. And I reflect back on last year, this time, when we were in Alaska. And that's when we last got to really hug, shake hands, share a cocktail, share stories, really get to know each other. And as Cindy said, looking forward to San Diego more than ever. Thanks for the opportunity. And thanks for having a great panel.
Candace, thank you. I can't wait to give you a real hug. Virtual hugs coming your way. Drew from Oregon, welcome. Drew, introduce yourself.
Thank you. Yes, Drew Coleman here. I am celebrating 20 years in the business this year by getting phone calls from our AE at all hours of the day, but it's an honor to serve all 17,000 plus members we have here in the state of Oregon. We've already had a very eventful year. I work in the Portland, Oregon market and have a lot of fun. It's been a crazy market. Realtor.com just came out with a list of hottest markets, and Portland was number 4, and it certainly feels that way. And I know the rest of the state and the whole Northwest region and Region 12 is feeling the same thing. So I work with the team, but the team that I'm really focusing on is our team at Oregon Realtors, and our staff and our volunteers have really been killing it so far this year, and it's been a great year. Happy to be with you.
Drew, congratulations on 20 years. That's awesome. Good for you. Tom, Washington. Welcome, Tom. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Tom Hormel from Washington. It says Drew Coleman, but that's not me. There we go. So I get the great honor of representing the state of Washington. And I can tell you, I know everybody will argue with me on this. I think we have the best staff in the industry here in Washington. Steve and the folks that he leads in Olympia are just second to none, and I appreciate everything that they do. Although I did tell him on about mid-February, I said, you should have warned me and given me a fireman's suit on January 1st, because it seems like all you do as a president sometimes is put out little fires. And that's kind of the gist of what we're doing here, and learning to pivot and learning to change. And I think this year we're going to have some real challenges as we go back to in-person and a hybrid of what's in person and what's being broadcast. So that's kind of one of the things we're going to have to look at this year. And a little interesting tidbit is Candace and Lonnie and I all served as state presidents for CRS at the exact same time. And now we're serving as presidents of our state associations at the same time. So that's kind of an interesting little fact.
I love that. Tom, thank you. I love your logo, your background logo. That's we are in this together, and I think that's awesome. All right, we're going to dive into some questions that we have for our presidents. If you have some questions you want to ask, put those in the Zoom chat. We'll do our best to get to the questions we have. I want to start with, we're going to start backwards. Tom, we're going to put you up first. I know sometimes we think we always go in alphabetical order, but Tom, what is a priority for your association in 2021?
Well, one of our main priorities is fair housing and DEI initiatives. We've been working on those for a couple of years now, but they're really, sometimes when you start a project, it takes a little while for those to come to fruition, and they're now starting to. We helped with NAR and their implicit bias training, so we're pushing that throughout our state. We've also got one of our local associations that's running a pilot program on a program that we had talked to NAR about, and that was minorities having more minorities as real estate as a career. So Seattle King County is piloting a program to help bolster that. So that's kind of the priorities, some of the priorities. There's always a lot of them, but those are some of our major priorities, is the DEI stuff.
Excellent, Tom. Thank you. Candace, what about you? What is a priority for your association in 2021?
Well, we're one of our priorities is trying to take advantage of all of the great work that Washington Realtors have already done with DEI. We had the ability to form a PEG, and Montana historically has not been as diverse as many other parts of the country. And through our PEG, we're finding out that we are so much more diverse than we ever imagined. And the framework of the individuals who volunteered to be on the PEG was amazing. We look to making it a standing committee if our BOD actually approves it in our April meetings. So that's been one huge focus priority. Second focus is really stepping up the realtor education, image, and requirements within our state, working hand in hand with our Board of Realty Regulation and our educators in the state of Montana to truly provide the bones and the meat and potatoes to broker training, especially salespeople training. Can get it all over, the internet and everywhere. But that second level, that broker and that supervisory broker level, are two pegs that we have going. Again, working in partnership with our Realty Regulation Board. Those are two of our biggest priorities this year. Our third one, real quickly, leadership development, reaching down the bench, developing the bench. So we always have new blood, and not a lot of us golden oldies to always fill those slots at leadership. Thank you.
Awesome. Keep up the good work. Montana is busy. All right. Drew, what about you? What are some of the priorities for your association in 2021?
Yeah, we have a lot, Tiffany. I think 13 months in, I've got my Zoom meeting dialed in, though. That's the nice thing. I call it laced up from the waist up. That's really all you got to pay attention to. But I mean, our motto for the year is tomorrow's success begins today. And we're really looking at governance into the future. And that, like Candace talked about, is building your bench, making sure you're developing those future leaders so that you can see that success. And there's a lot of other things. A couple other things. If you've ever read the administrative actions of the Oregon Real Estate Agency, in their Oregon Real Estate News Journal, you'll see that a large portion of the challenges come from property management. So what we've done is we've launched a Property Management Academy, which focuses on creating educational content that's accessible to all Oregon realtors to better help serve Oregon's diverse population. So I'm excited about that. Obviously, diversity, equity, and inclusion is important for us as well. So we're hosting a Diversity and Fair Housing Education Summit that will include local associations and multicultural groups. We're really excited about it. We want to develop and strengthen those partnerships and also compile resources for our members to support homeowners from diverse backgrounds. We had one of our wonderful Black members comment to us that he was talking to his aunt who had been renting. He came to find out when she passed, had been renting for 65 years, and he had thought she had been a homeowner that whole time. But he said, we just need to get that messaging out to those communities to show them how important homeownership is. So that's really a focus for us. And then we're really trying to increase RPAC participation. It's always a priority for us by getting locals to buy in and set trackable benchmarks and fundraise and maintain momentum with those major investors. We picked up 48 brand new major investors last year, especially through hard work by staff, and we want to continue to build on that. So those are some of the things we're looking at, Tiffany.
Drew, I love that. I would love to talk more about your property management after the program's over, your property management program. I'd love to hear more about that. And well done on the major investors. That's awesome. Through a pandemic to increase 47 more major investors. So way to go. All right, Lonnie, what about you? What is a challenge you see, what is the priority for your association in 2021?
So for 2021, I don't know, many of you may not realize that our association was without an AE for about maybe 2.5 years. And so really now that Rosetta's come on and she's fantastic and just a blessing to have, our focus is taking the administrative and operational foundation and really making sure that we're getting consistent branding and messaging out there. Our operations committee is updating the policies and procedures so that it aligns more with the mission statement and with our strategic plan. Bolstering, one of the things I really wanted to see was our committees to be bolstered. A committee of one or a committee of two with the state as large as we are really puts a lot of pressure on them to bring forth the things that they want to see through engagement and education and so forth. So all of our committee chairs have reached across to our 6 associations and brought in people to help, again, bolster those committees and get words out. The engagement committee, I'm excited about. We are actually launching, they are actually launching advertisement to really explain to the community why it is so important to use a realtor and that there really is a difference between a sales associate, an associate broker, and a realtor, and that we're more than just a code of ethics, that we really are in our communities and entrenched in our communities doing work on behalf of those consumers. And I think just working in collaboration with everybody is kind of what we're looking at this year. And like everybody, broadening that bench for leadership as well.
Lonnie, thank you very much. We're going to skip ahead to a couple other questions. Cindy, you're going to be up first. Of course, Idaho is experiencing a shortage of inventory, just like we know all across our region. So what do you think can be done to address that, Cindy?
Well, thanks, Tiffany, for the question. We have seen a huge shortage, just like across the rest of the country, in inventory. One of the things, too, and I think a lot of the folks on this call are probably aware of, is the vacancy rate in office space across the country. So in reaching out to some of our associations across the state and some of our participants, especially commercial brokers, I found out that our typical vacancy rate for office space across our state was somewhere around 5%. Since the pandemic, we're now looking at a vacancy rate of around 12 to 13%. And many of them are seeing lessees that want to get out of the lease that they're currently in. So they're expecting that those numbers of vacancies and available office space are going to continue to grow over the next 12 to 18 months. We've started a feasibility study in Idaho into the possibility of turning and repurposing that office space into affordable housing. If that could be turned into apartments, if it could be turned into condominiums, I think that it would probably help to loosen up a bit of the logjam in the lower end price ranges, as well as with apartments. We have a lot of seniors that if they could find a condominium that they could afford, that would be suitable, that they'd be happy to downsize. They'd be happy to put their home on the market. We also see a lot of students coming back to the state once they've graduated that can't even find an apartment. They want to come back to Idaho from wherever they've graduated across the nation and be able to start their careers. They can't even find a place to live. So we're looking into the possibility of seeing what can happen through the feasibility study with changing those vacant structures across the state into actual usable structures before they fall into disrepair, before they turn into just a target for vandalism, graffiti, and turn into a neighborhood that's now in a downturn instead of one that's vibrant. So that's what we're trying to do here in Idaho, and I'll keep you posted on how it works. Thanks, Tiffany.
Thank you, Cindy. Drew, same question to you. We know that inventory is low. So what do you think can be done to address it in your area? Or what are you guys working on?
Well, it sounds like Cindy and Idaho are on the forefront of this, and I love some of those ideas. I've heard some of those same concepts, and I think some flexibility as far as zoning goes, where we have an oversupply of commercial and we have an undersupply of residential, is a great idea. And so I applaud Idaho for getting ahead of that. I've heard that concept before, especially, and they talk about some of these malls turning into housing spaces over time and condoizing them. I don't know how I feel about sleeping in the former shoe department of a J.C. Penney, but I think if it's done right, it could be really nice. But I think on the level, it's a supply and demand issue. In Oregon, a lot of times before you even pour concrete or move dirt, you're $90,000 in system development charges. So we really got to work with our government here locally to make sure that we're not damaging affordability from the get-go, where these builders are not incentivized to build property. We haven't built as many properties in Oregon as we had since 1983. It's been this precipitous decline every year since that time, and there's no end in sight. So we really need to support builders and try to build that inventory where we can to help, especially in Oregon, find properties for especially our workforce housing that so desperately needs places to live.
Drew, thank you. I think this just obviously lends itself to some more conversation between our states about how we can share these ideas. Love that. Love that. Lonnie, let's talk just a little bit about what are you seeing with Zoom and technology fatigue and your membership? How are you addressing this? Are you seeing that? And how are you addressing it if you are?
Wow. I'm not seeing a lot of it. I know that I think it's just our new norm. We're hearing more statistics that, 4 hours as the max. Trying to figure out how to do hybrid classes. We're in the process of trying to launch GRI. One of Rosetta and my goals for this year is to make sure that we offer all 3 of the GIR courses, and trying to do that both virtually and in person. And I'm loving the way that this conference is working out and hoping to take some of these ideas to work into that structure. But I think we're looking at not an 8-hour GRI class as in the past. It'll probably be smaller snippets, 4 hours max. I know that Anchorage is still shut down for sizes of places. So with our Leadership Academy, we've had to re-scramble and move them to other areas that are more open. 2 of those conferences were in Fairbanks and one recently in what we call the Valley in Wasilla. So yes.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad that you're enjoying this, and, keep up the good work. I love the hybrid model. It kind of helps people that are able to come in person to participate, but then we're still reaching out to all of our members with technology. Absolutely. All right, Tom, a question for you. The immediate past presidents of your states could not have foreseen what 2020 was going to be and heading into 2021. How have you adapted in 2021, and what lessons have you learned over this past year coming into your leadership?
So, nobody could see that coming. I mean, if they could, they would have bought 3M stock or something like that. So crazy stuff that happened last year. We've become much better in this virtual world. Zoom has become a normal word that everybody knows and talks about. Our meetings have looked better and are now run better than they were in the beginning. In the beginning, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, spring business conference is coming up. What do we do? I think our first meeting, only the members of that committee were really on the Zoom calls, and now it's open to our general membership. So I think the biggest lesson learned is you got to be flexible. And you got to be ready for every day to have something different thrown at you. The word of the year last year for me was pivot. Pivot at a moment's notice, and just be ready for something else coming at you. So, and I think that we're going to have that again this year, like I said, as we transition back into the virtual world, back to being in person. But I think that there's a large contingent. You asked Lonnie about Zoom fatigue, and I think Zoom fatigue is real for those of us that are involved. But for a lot of our members, they don't have Zoom fatigue. They're interested in what's going on at the state level, and they can kind of, in this last year, they've been able to Zoom in on these meetings from their house and see what's going on at the state that they never got to see before. And we got to realize that there's a number of them that will never join enough to actually go to a live meeting, but we have to be prepared to have them still take that hybrid meeting, because I think if we pull that carpet out from underneath them now that they've had an opportunity, there's going to be some pushback from our members to do a hybrid type situation. So, but the key word that we learned last year was pivot.
I love it. You're right. You're right. The opportunity to reach as many members as we are able to with technology is awesome. For example, I think we have almost 270 people on with us today at the regional conference, where sometimes we get maybe less than 100. So there are some very positive things that have come out of this last year. Absolutely. Candace, same question to you. We could have never expected 2020. How have you adapted in 2021, and what have you learned?
Well, I do love the word that has been used, pivoting, by Tom. I would say pivoting was what we learned. Transitionary is what we're doing going forward. We're now in that transition year where we all thought we'd be done with everything we had in 2020 and that 2021 was going to start all anew again. What we have found out is we're still transitioning. And what is 2022 going to look at? Each one of us now is in that position where we're forecasting, like Lawrence Yun, we're forecasting 2022, what will it look like to our members, to our budget, to our travel, to our blended or hybrid platforms. And so that's the real live discussion that we're having now that none of us ever could have envisioned last year. It's going to create new learning platforms, new communication platforms. And I love the sharing that's going on here. And Lonnie, reach out to our team at MAR. They just put on a 2-week GRI learning program, did 1, 2, and 3, and it was absolutely amazing. So they can share with you a lot of different lessons they learned, and it was pretty phenomenal. And I think we had 350 plus or minus participants, so it was really, really good. So I'd say pivot last year, transitionary this year, and onward and up here. Onward and upward and forward for 2022.
Candace, I love it. Thank you. All right, just a few minutes left. Drew, one quick highlight for 2021 that you want to share that your association's doing.
We've done a lot of awesome stuff. We're doing, I know NAR has been focusing on their game changer peg and just to kind of make sure that we're right sized for future decisions, because we've learned that we've got to, I mean, if Tom says that we got to pivot, but I think more and more the speed of business and the way things happen has never been faster. So we got to be ready to pivot. So we're looking at our governance structure, just like NAR is. It is one of the priorities for our association. And I'm proud to say that we've paid off the Oregon Realtors building that we've owned for a long time. And it's been something that we've struggled with at times. It is now bought and paid for. So I'll do my Dave Ramsey scream at another time, but we're very proud of that.
Awesome. I love that. Congratulations. That's an incredible accomplishment. All right, Lonnie, one quick highlight for your association for 2021.
I would think probably the best highlight is our Leadership Academy. It was a vision that our former president, Evelyn Arnott, had back in 2020 that was obviously not able to launch. And so she's kicked that off this year. And the attendees that are going through that right now are saying that it is just so much more than what they ever imagined it. We've mirrored it after what NAR does. And it's an effort to deepen the bench across the state. So we're looking forward. They have another one coming up. And then at convention, they'll be presented and announced and launched. And hopefully we're going to rotate that every other year. So I think definitely one of the key highlights for this year is that Leadership Academy.
Awesome. Well, that went fast. We are out of time. I would like to thank Tom, Drew, Candace, Cindy, Lonnie, our state president. You guys, just big round of applause for all of the work that you are doing. We are facing some big issues in the coming months and years, and I am grateful for leaders like you helping us and our members navigate these uncertainties. So another big cheer for our state presidents. Thank you so much. Well, this brings us to our second drawing of the afternoon, another $250 Best Buy gift card. This prize was generously donated by Cutco. So a quick show of hands. How many of you have given Cutco as a closing gift, or you have Cutco? Awesome. Tons of hands in the air. That's great. Well, let's take a minute to listen to a message from Cutco, and then we'll spin our wheel.
Hi, I'm Tara Michelli, and I'm with Cutco Closing Gifts, the largest closing gift company in North America. Cutco Cutlery has been around since 1949. were made right here in the USA. It's dishwasher safe, it's guaranteed forever, and it's used every single day in the kitchen. It helps you stay top of mind with your clients. It generates referrals by sparking conversation about you and your services when you're not even there. And yes, it's 100% tax deductible as advertising. So if you'd like me to cut you a deal, go ahead and reach out to me. My phone number is 509-701-2130. That's 509-701-2130. Stay sharp.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cutco. We appreciate your support of our program today. All right, so now for the drawing. I kind of feel like Vanna White, just a little bit. So let's go ahead and spin the wheel. Congratulations, Nikki Troutman. Way to go. You are the winner of our second $250 gift card to Best Buy. Excellent. Well, we have an election right around the corner for our 2022 NAR First Vice President. The NAR Board of Directors will, on May 14th, be voting for this very important position. We are fortunate today to have messages from both of our candidates. Our first candidate we will hear from is our very own Tracy Casper. Tracy, welcome.
Hello to all of my friends at Region 12. I just wanted to take a quick minute to tell you just a couple of things, but first I have to tell you how much I miss you, every single one of you. Second, I have to tell you thank you. Thank you for your support, thank you for your friendship, the confidence that you've placed in me, and certainly for your endorsements. Thank you to every single one of our states and our region as a whole for giving me that great base that I was able to launch my campaign. It made ripples throughout our board of directors and it made an impact, and for that I'm forever grateful and just want to tell you all thank you. I also wanted to just visit with you about what does it look like moving forward. Our members are looking for leaders to make sure that we have those forward thinkers, that we have vision leaders, that we have leaders who are able to have some tough conversations and yet with compassion. And I want you to know that I am that candidate. Our members are looking for us to be able to ensure that as our markets are changing, as we have these big, massive impacts that are coming at us with lawsuits, with MLS, with DOJ, even with our advocacy, the 1031 exchange, the step up in basis, we have a lot that we have to take care of. And our members want to know that our leadership is at the forefront of those and again, able to have those tough conversations. There are opportunities that are ahead of us as well. So we have to be open-minded. We have to make sure that we are looking forward. And with that, I will tell you that I am that candidate as well. I stand before you very humble in the idea that you are behind me, that together we are running this campaign. I stand here very honored to be a candidate for the first vice president of the National Association of Realtors. And I want you to know that I hold this very dear. I want you to know that we are working very, very hard. And I want you to know that we are ready. I am ready. So thank you again for your support. Thank you again for your endorsements. If you haven't visited TracyCasperForNAR.com, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to go there and put your personal endorsements in as well. I, again, appreciate all that you do. I know that Region 12 sets the bar high for the rest of the country. I am so very proud to be here today as a member of Region 12 and as your candidate. I wish we were in person. I know we're going to get to be soon, but in the meantime, just know how much I care about each and every one of you. You are my realtor family. I love you. Take care, be safe, and be well.
Tracy, thank you. Our second candidate is Mike McGrew from Kansas. Mike, welcome.
Hello, Region 12. And thank you, Madam RVP, for inviting me to speak to your group today. In these conversations, I've noticed that I always start with a question such as, who knew what they were going to be at 20 years old? Or have you heard how I got started in the real estate business? Today, I have a slightly different question. By now, I hope you know who I am. I hope you know about my 25 years of advocacy on behalf of our association and my service as NAR Treasurer. Today I'm asking you to think about, who are we? I love the branding tagline, "That's who we are." I think it's fantastic. But that means we need to fundamentally understand ourselves as an association. Because who we understand ourselves to be will inform and guide our actions as an association and lead to either prosperity or potentially failure. As we reflect on our collective selves, I think the first thing I recognize is the diversity of our association. Race, gender, ethnicity, and sexual orientation are all important. I know that to be true. But I think even more recognizable is our diversity of thought and our diversity of interest. We're an association made up of 1.4 million individuals. Emphasis is on individuals. I don't believe that we're as divided an association as the hub posts may make it seem. I believe that open conversation is healthy, but what's clear to me is we are all individuals. This association is the outlet for all of us to pull together on the same rope. We pull on that rope on behalf of our clients and communities, on behalf of private property rights, and on behalf of our country. Examining who we are must be more than just how we feel in this moment. Who we are has a long history, an excellent, proud history, though as we all know, that history is not without significant blemishes. Where once we were opposed to fair housing, we're now the strongest advocates. And only through recognition of our shortcomings can we begin to make the changes that are necessary in our industry. There are other blemishes, no doubt, but so many other bright spots too. Our history informs who we are. Who we examine ourselves to be will guide who we become. And so I ask you, who are we to become? When I think about that question, I always recall those who have influenced me the most, those who shape the way I think and lead and do business. We need to be thinking about what kind of legacy we're going to leave for the next generation of realtors and start working towards and achieving those things now. I so often think about my parents, my dad losing his father at 14, becoming the man of the house and working with singular purpose to graduate from KU and take over as the president of McGrew Real Estate in partnership with my grandmother, Viola. My mother supported him every inch of the way. They both led by example. I think of Ben Blair, past NAR treasurer and DSA, and Nestor Wygand, past NAR president, who are among the Kansas realtor leaders who have most influenced me. Ben was a bit of a competitor of McGrew Real Estate since his company is just 20 minutes from Lawrence. He's a terrific realtor and made long-term contributions to KAR and NAR. Nestor's always been a gentleman, businessman, and realtor statesman. His ability to advocate and disagree without being disagreeable is something we should all strive to emulate. He continues to be a tireless realtor, advocate, and mentor to so many of us. These leaders and others help guide my development as a leader and the way I tackle new problems. Each was a pioneer in their own right. Service mattered. GPS, guide, pioneer, and serve. Those are qualities I think are important for the next leader of NAR. A GPS can establish where you are. It can also get you to where you want to be, but you have to decide where you want to go. So where are we going? Who do we want to be? I've been talking and working with my campaign team to discuss key policy topics. We're talking about diversity, fair housing, reducing the homeownership gap, technical issues like 1031 exchanges and opportunity zones, MLS data sharing, innovative ways to solve inventory shortages, and so much more. The point is, we need you. You're a critical piece of the equation. 1.4 million members won't be moved by a single person. It takes all of us to strengthen this association. It takes all of us to pull together on that same rope. In doing so, we will make big changes that impact our communities, our clients, and our country. So will you join me? Help us answer this question of who do we want to be? Because this association and this industry are depending on us to do this together. Thank you. I'm Mike McGrew, and I look forward to earning your vote for NAR First Vice President. Have a great meeting.
Mike, thank you. We want to thank both of our candidates for sharing their messages and experience with us today. We appreciate both of you for your commitment to NAR and the leadership that you have demonstrated throughout this campaign. Speaking of NAR, it is my privilege to welcome our president, Charlie Oppler, and our CEO, Bob Goldberg. We are so fortunate to have you with us today. Thank you for being here. We have some questions, and if you have questions that you would like to ask members, please put those in the chat box. But Charlie, welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Tiffany. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Doing excellent.
Thanks for having us. Region 12, lots of friends. I scrolled quickly during the presentations, and it's so great to see so many of you out there that I've gotten a chance to know over the years and appreciate all that you do. One of the things that it's hard to imagine that we are already a quarter of the way through the year, and it's been an incredible quarter, as both the candidates just talked about. Who knew what we were going to do in 2021, and it would be an extension of 2020, but we're all here. We're all thriving. I hope all is well by all of you. Our theme this year of being one together is really just because we do things together, and we do it better when everybody works for the members. And I think when you think about everything that we've done, and we'll talk more later about some of the initiatives and some of the programs that we have in place, and that our staff and our volunteer leadership together are doing so many things. It's really important now more than ever to understand that all the things that we're working on are accomplished at the state, local, and national level. Nobody does this by themselves. And when I worked with Chris Polychrone as our 2015 president, the one thing I'll always remember is if it was a great idea, he would say he was glad he thought of it. And then he'd tell you in private, you know what? It's amazing what all of our members do. Going back to just calls for action. I remember Todd Polinchak from Pennsylvania, who is now a state senator in Pennsylvania, that just said, it's 2 clicks to be counted. And who thinks about our call for actions now as being an important part of what we do on the advocacy level? So we've accomplished a lot of things. There are so many other things that I know we can get done together. I look forward to working with many of you. I want to thank Tiffany for having us, and I want to thank so many of the leaders of Region 12 for serving on committees, being chairs of committees, and really just being leaders in your own way. So appreciate all that you do, your resiliency, your dedication, your commitment, and more than anything, your friendship. So with that, I will turn it over back to Tiffany or to Bob, and I don't follow instructions well, so it's probably Bob.
Charlie, thank you. I usually get to open the opportunities that I have to be with our members with greetings from your president, Charlie, and my friend. And it is awesome to have you here with us today. So thank you.
Thank you. I
Bob,
appreciate that.
Welcome. How are you today?
Doing great. Still, still adapting every single day, because no 2 days are the same in this world to now.
This is true. Yeah. Well, Bob, we have a few questions, and if I can start with you, what is the projection for membership over the next 3 years? We just had Lawrence tell us we've got more realtors than we do, listings. What does NAR anticipate as a trend with our membership moving forward?
Yeah, no, great question. And, I hope not to contradict by my, chief economist who feeds me what he believes the right answer is. But I think, a little history will give you a good answer here. Back in, I think it was 2016, we had about 1.2 million members. That's been around our 15-year average, that 1.1 to 1.2 million members. And then in 18, it got to 1.36. And then now in 2021, it stands at 1.4 million, and it's pushing 1.5 million. So right before, in the last 3 months, I would give you a good idea, we hit our all-time record high for membership. Now, I will tell you, a year ago at this time, when I was driving the budget through the budget process, I would not have anticipated a year ago today that we would be talking about an all-time record membership. In fact, during our budget process last year in 2020, I had our team do what I call a doomsday budget, because we didn't know. We didn't know if membership was going to fall off the table. We didn't know what was going to happen in terms of membership and sales and all the above. And I made a promise to our finance committee. I said, look, I don't know how to rebudget because none of us know what the answer is. None of us got, when I came in as CEO, no one asked me the question, how will you lead the largest trade association in the world during a pandemic? None of us had that guidebook. We did not know what to do. And so I made a comment that we're going to run the business and budget differently. We'll budget as though everything is normal. We'll manage our business with the reality of what is happening. Last year, NAR, because of how the market rebounded so substantially within 2 months, I know Lawrence talked to you about the V recovery, where it went down and then skyrocketed. We ended up putting over $20 million back in reserves. Now, the point being there is I viewed it as it's somewhat of a rainy day fund because there's going to be times ahead of us, mainly because of the market conditions of low inventory, low interest rates, and that's putting a pressure on prices, et cetera. So as I look at the forecast of membership, and as Lawrence told you, we do think it's going to dip over the next couple of years, but it's a dip. It's not a substantial change. And so, it will slightly go down over the next couple of years, but still be ahead of our 15-year average. So I think that's good news in that respect. We just got to find a way to get more inventory. And that's a challenge we all have. And that's what we do with our ad campaigns, is trying to tell people it's a great time to sell and it's a great time to buy.
I love it. I love it. And that's a great point. That leads me to my next question for you, Charlie. As we've seen, inventory is at an all-time low across the nation. Besides our ad campaign, can you share what NAR is doing to address the shortage?
Well, I love how our CEO talks about it's a great time to buy and a great time to sell, like he actually knows what we all go through on a daily basis.
Well, I live with one of our members.
And you don't listen to her any better than you listen to us half the time.
No, that's true. But I'm not going to say that. Yeah, I don't want to say that. She's in the other room. She might come in here. So.
Oh, okay. Just before I get into that answer, it's so important for you as leadership to have that relationship with your CEO that understands what we go through as practitioners, but also you have a relationship where you can talk freely about all the good things, but also the difficult things that you have to do in a year when you're in a leadership position. So, Bob, I appreciate the openness and being able to have those discussions with you when we do. So, in all seriousness, prices we know are going through the roof. We know inventory is low. Inventory is low for a number of different reasons. As I told our team and our managers, there's a few reasons why we have this crunch, if you will. If we go back to 2008, 2009, when the recession hit, builders pulled back and they stopped building homes at the same pace that they had built, near 1.5 million per year. They're down 800,000, 700,000 annualized, anywhere in that ballpark. Well, over a 15-year period or 14 years, that's over 10 million homes less in the marketplace. For all you kids out there, I started in the real estate business in 1981, and I was taught that people move every 3 or 4 years. Well, now it's closer to every 10 years. Well, that just limits the amount of inventory that's going to go on the market. What would be an annualized market would be 6.5 months. Too bad you're looking at Bob. It would be about 6.5 months. It's now less than 2 months. So we know what we're going through, and yet inventory dropped 30% in the month of February alone. And any house that came on the market that was even halfway decent had multiple offers. I got a text as I had a Zoom meeting earlier from one of our managers that it might be an all-time record. A house we listed on Friday had 95 showings between Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and 40 offers. Okay, now it was a vacant house, a relocation home, so it was easier to show. But can you imagine 95 showings? Tells you the supply of buyers that we have, and probably just backs up what Lawrence said earlier about nothing that's going to create a bubble in this year and maybe next year, because the supply of buyers and the low interest rates will continue to drive buyers into the marketplace. What we're trying to do right now is get SALT reinstated, because we think that will put more homes on the market. And it still hampers the home purchasing power of a lot of buyers. We know when Congress implemented the $10,000 cap per household, only 11% of homeowners took the deduction. Previously, it was over 30%. So we're hopeful that even if it's adjusted, if it's not totally repealed, would help the marketplace. We're also looking at capital gains adjustments that prevents homes from entering into the market. And the only other thing that I would just talk about now in essence of time would be commercial properties that are really struggling, high-rise buildings or other, to possibly be repurposed into residential housing. And that would also result in having an opportunity to get more people back to work. And even if we have to create tax incentives for builders to hire more people, train them, and do all of that, there's a lot we're going to have to do. But certainly the capital gains issue to bring single family investments on the market, and for those that have been own their home for a long time, would be two big, real critical parts of what we're doing.
Excellent. Excellent. So great additional insight into our low inventory situation. So Bob, how is NAR helping members stay relevant and viable?
Well, that's always the challenge, because we got to keep them engaged. As Lawrence gave you the numbers of how many transactions and how many members, that really puts everything in perspective. But I think it's worth mentioning, we have to be that voice for real estate. So, many of you know our consumer advertising campaign has really been out there to educate consumers about the importance of the real estate transaction, how they're viable in it, and that realtors are so important to be the facilitator of this and to be fully engaged with them. I want to take a second here, and I want everybody to recognize Tiffany here. Tiffany, who chaired our communications committee, who worked with our third-party ad agency and our staff to come up with these very effective ads that are reaching consumers, resonating with them. I think you saw last year the success of That's Who We Are campaign. To give you an idea, that campaign alone garnered over 3 billion consumer impressions. So I think between the ad campaigns, I think all of you, hopefully our ads with the mnemonic, with the knock. Everyone hears the knock and they know it's the realtor ad. That's all very, very important to continue to do that. We want to make sure consumers know the realtor difference and the value proposition, because it would be easy in a hot market like this that consumers will say, well, I'll just do it myself. We've had more consumers tell us they had to get a realtor in the middle of it because the market was so hot, they didn't know how to field multiple offers. So in some ways, that's a hidden silver lining. And I would suggest all of you go to that'swhoweare.realtor, and you can learn more about the campaign. I think the other thing about making sure our members stay relevant, we introduced last year in the middle of the pandemic the program Right Tools, Right Now. I felt very strongly, I brought it to our leadership team, that we ought to reintroduce an opportunity to get members engaged and basically, from an NAR perspective, clear the warehouse. All of our products and services we either provided free or at cost. And to give you an idea, nearly 300,000 of our members took one or more products. Nearly $30 million in savings directly in the pockets. Had we charged for those products, the members would have been paying us about, like I said, close to $30 million. 800,000 different products, services, and education were taken by our members. We felt it was imperative to give back because we don't know what's going to happen. Now, certainly a couple months later, the economy changed, real estate got really positioned far better, but we decided under our leadership of Vince Malta and certainly Charlie here and the rest of our leadership team, let's keep giving that back throughout the year. So we did that. And that's why those numbers were so impressive, because we gave so much back to our members. And when you consider any way that you can engage, hundreds of thousands of members on something that NAR is doing and participating directly. That is a good thing. And we talked about it, just the advantages of this new virtual world. You get those opportunities.
I love it. I love that NAR is doing everything they can to make me successful as a Realtor member. And Bob, really appreciate that forward thinking to carry right tools right now on for us in the future. So NAR has been at the forefront of the fair housing discussion, and I can't express to you both how much I personally appreciate that. What are our next steps for associations and members? And Charlie, if you want to go first, then Bob, what do we do now? Now that we're at the forefront of the conversation, now what's our next step?
We keep pushing. I challenged the leadership team, the executive committee, board of directors, certain state presidents, anybody and everybody to learn more about fair housing. And I think our members have responded to a point that I couldn't even have begun to imagine. And, I live in the metropolitan New York area, and the expose in Long Island by Newsday really is not far from where I am. And I couldn't imagine that our company would do things that other companies were found to be in violation. So I wanted to make sure that we took every action that we could to follow up what President Elizabeth Mendenhall started in 2018, which was the 50th anniversary of the Fair Housing Act. And we've continued to push education. Well, NAR hired Brian Green before that Newsday 3-year study was released, and we had already begun to put into action more things in meetings with HUD as to what we could do better as an association and as members. So the challenge was 3-tier. It was to learn more about fair housing, and it was more about understanding how we treat one another and how we treat people, how we treat our fellow members, how we treat consumers, customers across the board. So first, we asked everybody to watch the Fair Haven video, which is about an hour and a half. And it's a real life simulation of situations in a storytelling format. Second, we asked our leadership team to review the implicit bias video, which really talks about your subconscious and your just natural reactions and teaches you about if you are acting in a discriminatory way and to learn more about yourself in that regard. And then last, we asked our members to get the At Home with Diversity certification, which is an 8-hour program. And I'm pleased to report that over 500 members have already been certified with that certification. That sounds real good. Certified with that certification. So we're really pleased with the response, but that's not enough. We've got 1,400,000 plus members. Everybody should learn more about fair housing so that we treat customers, consumers the right way. Protected classes. Too many of us don't understand everything that goes along with bias and that goes along with how you treat one another. We also looked at it as what else could we be doing in the community? So I'm working with Mark Gould, our senior vice president on the education level, and we've created a mentorship program. We're testing it, we're piloting it in 9 markets, and we want to offer it to those in underserved markets to learn that real estate can be a career. It's not just sales. It could be any discipline. It could be marketing, appraisal, IT, landscaping, finance. And we all know that when we talk about home ownership and the real estate business, it helps build generational wealth. So it's a 2-level program. And we're just excited to be launching this. We've got another call on Monday. I've been working in the Raleigh-Durham market. We have a meeting on April 26th where North Carolina Central University is going to put together a $2 million program to offer 20 minors or majors in the real estate discipline as part of their business program because they think it's just a great opportunity to take their school to the next level on a business side. So I would encourage all of you to do the same challenge of Fairhaven implicit bias, and you're at home with diversity certification if you haven't. And I just think it's a great step in the right direction for us to be more educated and to really push the diversity, equality, and inclusion initiative. So we're still doing a lot, and we've got a lot to do for a lot of years, and people are going to make mistakes subconsciously or unconsciously. And you know, when you look at social media and you look at all the different communication modes out there, you know, we've got to do better. We have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. You know, we took that big step in the Code of Ethics, 10.5, to eliminate hate speech and to take us all to a higher level. Well, if we can't lead by being the leaders that we are on this call today, then we've got a lot further to go than I thought. And I know we're going to get there. So with that, I'll turn it to Bob.
Yeah, I just would reiterate everything Charlie said. I think in simple terms, you know, this is not your grandfather or grandmother's NAR. You know, Charlie mentioned some of these programs. He mentioned also Brian Green, who was a undersecretary of HUD that we brought in, helping to lead us in these areas. What I'm thrilled about is we made these initiative changes before all the social unrest was happening in this country. We brought Brian in a year ago, December, before what happened at Newsday, before the George Floyd unfortunate situation, you know, with that murder. The society is just bubbling there. But I will tell you, when I came in 2017 as the CEO, so about 3.5 years ago, one of the core pillars that I put in place is I wanted NAR, from certainly a staff perspective and working hand in hand with our members, that diversity, equity, inclusion needs to be in the forefront of what we do. We were not reacting to anything. We put it as a key pillar. Our leaders very much on board with this, as Charlie mentioned, those initiatives. But at the same time at NAR, we hired a vice president of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is one of our 6 core principles of operating behaviors I require of every employee, which is to ensure that we push diversity, equity, and inclusion, along with our number one, these are not in any order, members first, and there's 5 others. The point being is you've got to walk the talk. And we've done a lot in our industry of talking about doing this, but we weren't really putting things in action. So I'm thrilled about the fact, if you go to the nar.realtor, you know, our website, you will see a diversity, equity, and inclusion statement that our employees put together. Employees of color, white folks, all other types of you know, sexual orientation, you know, older, younger Americans. It didn't matter. We had the entire organization working together, and let's put our first diversity, equity, and inclusion statement on our website, because number one, it makes our employees know that we are about inclusion, but equally as important, about working with our members and putting these programs together to best serve our industry. We need to be the drivers of change in this. It's not just these programs, because it's more than just a real estate transaction. I've got my advocacy team working, as Charlie knows, with other partners in this industry and multicultural organizations. We've got to make sure that lending practices are fair. We got to have certainly much better work done on the appraisal side. You deal with generational wealth problems in this country, we've got to deal with all aspects of the real estate life cycle. So I think, you know, adding to Charlie's, know that it's not a Me Too moment where we're only going to do it because everyone else is doing it. We need to lead the way as an industry because we serve a multitude of different customers and property owners.
I thank you both for your leadership with this. Every time I hear you speak about this, I just get more and more encouraged about the progress that we're making, and it is one day at a time. So thank you both so much for that. So Charlie,
Tiffany,
yes,
can I just say one thing?
You bet.
When we developed the mentorship program, and Bob may not remember this, but he probably does. I had this feeling that we could do something in underserved communities. So I asked him if he could put a meeting together with some of the leaders that he thought would be able to put a program in place. And as I said, Mark Gould is really taking the lead. And he had 3 or 4 other people. And when he sent me the list, I said, Bob, if we're going to talk about a mentorship program in underserved communities, we need to be diverse in our discussion. It's going to be a difficult discussion, but we need to have it. And the first time that we looked at the list, everybody on that list was white, middle-aged, and probably didn't understand some of the plight that was out there. And to Bob's credit and the staff's credit, we put together a meeting of about 10 or 12 people. We addressed the issues, and I'll never forget Alicia Bailey on the call just said to me, you can do everything you want. You don't understand generational wealth and home ownership gaps. And we've seen every number that obviously makes that a point. But that was a staff person who felt comfortable about having that discussion because she knew we were sincere in trying to build a program and knowing that we could count on our members to be participating in that discussion. And it's really been well supported by so many of you already in the pilot programs, of which Seattle will be one of those pilot programs in the country.
Charlie, thank you. I am grateful to be a part of an organization that allows open discussion, that allows that kind of conversation and trust. So that's really awesome to see our mentorship program coming forward. Charlie, we're almost out of time, so I just want to end with one question for you, and I got one more question for Bob. Charlie, what is a day in the life of NAR president look like? I'm normally in the office by 6:30 a.m. I spend a couple of hours just getting everything together, correspondence, both for NAR and for my own company. Our company's got 15 offices, 700 agents, and we're thankfully, been pretty busy and looking at opportunities to expand the company. Just got reports after the first quarter, and somehow we are up 25% over where we were last year, and we've gotten more listings. So now I have to go figure out office by office, market by market, why we're up 15% in new listings in the company when all I think about is inventory problems. And then from that point on, Tiffany, from like 9 o'clock on, I'm answering messages, talking to our agents, having meetings with our managers. You talk about a silver lining. Well, Zoom has allowed me to do more things and speak to more people than I would have been able to do if I had gotten in my car and drive 30 miles here or 20 miles there. So it's allowed me to be more efficient within our own company, but it's also allowed me to work with our staff and our volunteer leadership to get more programs in place that I'm not sure we would have been able to had I been on the road, at a meeting. If I were in Region 12 for 3 days, which would have been wonderful because I love all that, that North Pacific Northwest, but I might not have been able to do as many things as I can do. Like today, this is my 4th meeting with different associations and along those levels. And, one of the initiatives that, we're pushing is the C5 Commercial Summit. Our commercial practitioners are hurting. We're having an in-person event in New York City, September 27th to 29th, to really bring our commercial members to the next level. And I had a meeting earlier at 2 p.m. Eastern today, and we've got over 40 sponsors. We have an incredible agenda that's coming together, but we have over 120 members on this committee that are so engaged because NAR is taking the next step to create an event that will be world-class. And C5 stands for Commercial, Connection, Commerce, Capital, and Community. And I've got to tell you, it's been something that I've wanted to do for a lot of years because I think there is a need for it. And again, with the help of staff and the volunteer leadership, it's going to be a phenomenal event as a first event. And, timing couldn't be better in that regard because so many of us are anxious to travel that we've gotten a lot of participation from across the country and just excited to move to the next level. Charlie, thank you. I often think about you and I think, when does he sleep? When does he have the time to go for a walk or to do anything personal? So thank you so much for your commitment to our members, to our Realtor family, and what you're doing to elevate us all.
Thank you, Tiffany.
You bet. One last quick question, Bob. We only have like just a few minutes, but really quickly, you've been managing a workforce from home. Workforce that's working at home. What is the key to managing that workforce, and what's the key to the environment that you're helping our staff and taking care of our staff right now?
Yeah, no, great question. Because there's all of us as leaders that lead people. I think the key is a distinction between a manager and a leader. Managers, I think, work at McDonald's. You do this, you flip the burger, or else. Leaders actually set a vision and a course, and you want your folks to take it and run with it. Well, being that we're all remote, this is where we've been able to shine. This is the value of what your association, all of us at every level, bring to the members. I am so thrilled because in 2020, NAR won, just in the last couple months, we were certified as a Great Places to Work company. There's very few, a lot of them are Fortune 1000 companies. We've worked hard over a year and a half to try to get recognized by our employees. And it's an extensive list of things, but that proves the point. You have to allow people, obviously, in a remote world to be autonomous, but to also get guidance when needed. I love the fact that I engage more with my employees today than I was in person because I'm doing Zoom calls all day. We do all staff meetings, Zoom calls, no matter where our employees are located. And I think that's the biggest change that we're all experiencing. I talk about the now normal. When the pandemic eases, we're going to be doing these kind of events still. Our leadership engaged with, listen to this, almost 400 to 500,000 members during 2020 because of virtual. Well, when we start meeting in person again, we're going to be doing the same kinds of things, still engaging with members electronically and digitally, as well as in person. The staff has to support all of that. They support our members every single day. And I think the most important piece to answer the question in an easy answer, you have to have dedicated employees that believe in our first core value, and that is members first. If they don't live up to doing that and serving our members, then we're not doing our jobs. And those type of employees that don't live by that credo will not be our employees. So it's easy to lead an organization where you have 300 plus people that give a damn, that want to serve our members and take pride in that. So that's the best answer any of us can give as leaders, that you have a great team to make us all successful.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you, our amazing leaders, great friends, tremendous individuals, visionary leaders, for what you're doing for all of us each and every day. Thank you, Charlie and Bob, again for being with us. I know you have other things to get onto, so one big shout out from Region 12. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you, and we hope you stay healthy, safe, happy, and wish you the best rest of your week. So thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, Tiffany. And hopefully we'll see all the President's Circle members in Marco Island. So
absolutely.
Looking forward to that.
Annual convention is a go. We'll be in San Diego in November. So we hope to see you there as well.
We will be there. We've discussed it already. Everybody can't wait to be, there'll be a lot of realtor loving going on at that annual convention.
Can we share with them one change that we're looking at?
Yeah, go ahead, Charlie. I think it's great. You've been the leader to help us revitalize and change everything we're doing. So, Charlie, tell them. Yeah.
You know, we're so used to having the concert Sunday night, and so many people couldn't be there. Since we could not guarantee that any performer would come, we are now going to have a members outing. Everybody's invited, food, drink, and everything at Petco Park, which is the home of the San Diego Padres. We know that they won't be playing in November because the Yankees will be playing somebody, but it won't be San Diego because they're going to be thankful that we're coming to their city, so they can't let the Padres win anything. But it's going to be a members event and a members get together. We just thought that it's a Friday night, really the first big night that we're there. And we just think it's more important at this point to engage everybody together than to have a concert that maybe on a Sunday night, 1,500 people would still be in town. So we've put together a huge event on that Friday night, and we're still putting all the details together. But again, with the thought that it's members convention, we're going to be thrilled that everybody's going to get back together. It's outside. You know, it holds, 45,000 people. So we should be able to be socially distanced for those who want to. We'll have entertainment, cover bands or whatever, but it'll be just a members event. So we're excited about that.
Oh, what a fantastic idea. I cannot wait. Cannot wait.
So,
well, thank you both. We are going to
thank
take another quick break. This will be a very short break, so stay tuned. And when we get back, we'll have another drawing. So quick break.
spend on my mind. All the times that I'd say that we'll be together, we'll be together. Oh, all the ways I see through my heart. I know the good intentions, they won't last forever, won't last forever. Oh, and I know I haven't been perfect, but give it some time. There's not a single day goes by where you don't cross my mind. And we spend our lives looking for things we can't find. Oh, oh, but not a single day goes by where you don't cross my mind. Oh, not a single day goes by where you don't cross my mind. Oh, not a single day goes by where you don't cross my mind. say that I never listen. I never listen. Through the conversations we've had till 4 a.m., you say you want something different. Hey, want something different. Whoa. And I know I haven't been perfect, but give it some time. 'Cause not a single day goes by where you don't cross my mind. And we spend our lives looking for things we can't find. Oh, oh, but not a single day goes by where you don't cross my mind. Oh, not a single day goes by where you don't cross my mind.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the discussion with Bob and Charlie as much as I did, and I think we can all agree that we are in great hands at NAR. Our discussions today were made possible in part by another great sponsor. We have a wonderful partner in First American Title. They've provided another $250 Best Buy gift card for one of today's participants. Before we go to the prize wheel, let's see what First American has to say.
Hi, my name is Debbie Siskoyas. I'm with First American Title Company. For those of you who don't know us, we own and operate in 66 counties throughout Montana and Idaho. It's our pleasure to be a sponsor for the National Association of Realtors Region 12 convention. Did you ever think that we'd be saying, we are in our 12th month of a global pandemic? First American Title Company, we were able to powerfully impact the real estate industry in our areas with some new technology. And I want to talk about two things. One is EM Transfer. EM Transfer is a way for your buyers to transfer earnest money electronically, safely, and securely. It's easy, and through our First American offices, it is free. We are not charging for this. If you're interested in knowing more, learning more about EM Transfer, please contact your local First American office or go to www.gofirstam.com and just click on the EM Transfer link. We've got some great informational videos on there for you. Secondly, remote online notary service. We've chosen to offer this service to you throughout Montana and Idaho. We have 9 internal employees who are RON certified. We have 6 in Idaho and 3 in Montana. Third thing we have offered to our real estate partners, education. Oh my gosh, you guys, every month on the 3rd Wednesday from 10 to 11 o'clock, we will be hosting a webinar. Our guest speaker in March is Whitney Bingham. Some of you saw Whitney before when we had her. She does a great presentation on social media marketing for realtors. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your convention. We are so thrilled for you guys. Pretty soon we'll get back to normal and we'll be able to do high fives and handshakes. So anyway, thanks for letting us be a sponsor.
Thank you again, First American. And now for our drawing. Let's give the prize wheel another spin. Awesome! Congratulations. Lisa St. Clair is our winner of the $250 gift card. Thank you again, First American Title, for your support. There is one more chance to win a gift card coming up at the end of our program. All right, everybody, you are in for a treat. I dare you to find a more dynamic and energetic realtor than our next speaker. If you have not heard her speak, buckle up, because this is one heck of a ride. It is my pleasure to introduce Lee Brown. She is a realtor from Concord, North Carolina, an amazing realtor, and is National Association of Realtors 2021 Vice President of Advocacy. Lee is broker owner of One Community Real Estate, where she also leads the Lee Brown and Associates sales team as a top-selling North Carolina practitioner. A second-generation realtor, Lee came to the industry to work with her father after determining that corporate life just wasn't for her. She previously worked as a stockbroker and a business development manager for Husqvarna before bringing her sales background to real estate. Lee currently sits on the Realtors Relief Foundation board, our nonprofit founded after 9/11 to provide housing-related assistance to disaster victims. In 2018, she served as chair of RPAC Trustees Fundraising Committee. In 2017, she was the national president of the Residential Real Estate Council. And from 2012 to 2015, she served on NAR's Federal Financing and Housing Policy Committee. At the state level, she chaired the North Carolina Realtors Legislative Committee in 2020. Lee is an RPAC Hall of Famer, an international sales and motivational speaker, trainer, and author. And wow, I am tired just reading all that you've done, Lee. We are so excited to have you here with us, and I'm just going to say, take it away, Lee.
Thank you, Tiffany. And by the way, your hair looks fantastic today. And we should all give a big shout to Debbie with First American Title, because that lip color was on point, Debbie. I don't know where you are right now, but looked great. And so hello to those of y'all that I can see, and to all of you with your cameras off. Shame for hiding with your cameras off. Because if Jim Paulson can turn his camera on, then I know that all of y'all can. So hello, I'm glad to see you. I wish we were in person. I'm not like Charlie, who's enjoying the efficiency of Zoom. I'm so over Zoom. And if you feel me on that, you can give me an amen, because we're realtors. And I don't know about y'all, but I have had a poverty of hugs in my life. But here we are in real estate life, which is wild right now. I mean, seriously, do y'all miss the days of putting a buyer in a car who wanted to look at 50 houses and you had to talk them down to like 20? And now you're thinking, I wish I had 20 houses to sell. And if you have 20 houses, y'all know how it works. It's one this afternoon at 5:15, and there's one tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, but you only have 8 minutes because you can't have overlapping showings. And then there's one more coming the next day. And then we're going to make a sight unseen offer on this coming soon one. And it's too much. It's exhausting. It's hard. So I just want to tell y'all that if you're the one who's not feeling up about real estate right now, and your life has felt really cattywampus, you're not alone, because that's what we're going to talk about today. Tiffany said some of y'all needed a shot in the arm, and not of Moderna, Pfizer, or Johnson & Johnson, but you need a shot in the arm of energy and of the reminder of exactly how amazing you are. Because real estate is the best profession ever. It's why we persevere through times like this. And some of y'all that are as old as I am, and only Clairol knows how old I am, let's be honest. That's why I'm a bottle blonde. You've been through a lot of different market conditions, but nothing like this. And we say that over and over, right? We've always seen something new, which is the challenge of, I don't know which one of y'all said it, but so I heard it was in Region 12 that somebody said in February of last year, I have seen it all. And so we're going to blame the pandemic on you, because that's what happened to us here. So let's talk about how we can take you forward. Let's get a fresh perspective. Let's get some new focus. And for the record, we're officially retiring the word pivot forever, because I hate the word pivot. And let me tell y'all why. When you pivot, you're going in a circle. It looks new for a minute, looks real new, looks new over here. And then what in the name of heavens? We are back where we started. And I do not intend to come back to where we started here. We're going forward. So if you're with me, let's go. And thank you, Region 12, for all the cool technology. So I'm going to try and be hip and use what they told me to use if it works. So I'll show y'all this picture. And if I showed you this in February of last year, you would be like me and say, oh, that looks like my kindergarten and preschool Christmas project. Y'all remember taking the orange and then you shoved cloves in it and you carried it home and your house smelled amazing? And that's before y'all got to college. And we know that Lester knows what I'm talking about with what happened, you found out with cloves in college was different than what you knew about cloves as a kindergartner. And it's different than now when you put it in your Russian tea at night and it smells really good and tastes really good. But that's not what this is. This is no longer cute to us, is it? You look at this and some of y'all get a little bit angry, don't you? Do you get mad at what you've lost? Do you get sad at people that you know that have either died or been sick or have just lost their way? Do you look at this and feel like nothing is normal and that doesn't feel good? That's how most people feel when we look at this whole coronavirus era. The number one thing that has hit all of us has been fear. And fear is an ugly, ugly thing, right? Because it can drag you down. Negative emotions, man, they are like magnets. And you know how that miserable person is. They don't want to be miserable alone because misery loves company. And the whole world has been in a misery loves company space here for a while. But there's an upside to the coronavirus era. If you turn on the other side of fear, y'all might not know it, but there are two sides of this one emotion. One side is fear. The other side is faith. Fear says, I'm going to have to go lay on the couch in my yoga pants, eat Doritos all day and watch Tiger King. And none of us should have watched Tiger King. None of y'all should know who Carol Baskin is. Let's just be honest. But the other side of that emotion is faith. And faith says, you know what? It's going to be all right. Don't know how, don't know when or how, whatever's going to happen. I'm going to figure this out. And what did we figure out? Well, if you're going to move forward, you have to take a little honest look inside, right? And you know what we learned? Most of us learned how to put our priorities back in order. For a lot of you, like me, you're education and travel junkies. You've been on the road a lot. You used to go places and you worked all the time. And suddenly your governors and mayors said, nah, you ain't working for a minute. Y'all gonna sit at home. And suddenly you looked over at this person that you sleep with and you said, oh, hello, nice to meet you. And you got reacquainted with your loved ones. A lot of y'all had kids that were suddenly put into virtual schoolrooms in your house and you had to figure that out too. And then, good golly, y'all, the calls that came in. As realtors, we were on the phone nonstop at the beginning of the pandemic. And then, of course, as the markets went on fire. But if you're like me, when you called your past clients, tell the truth. You call and say, hey, how you doing? Hey, it's Lee Brown over here at One Community. Yeah, what you doing? You need anything? Okay, bye. Our phone calls were pretty perfunctory, pretty quick. You knew you had to do it. But then after the pandemic started, the phone calls looked like this. Hey, y'all good? Need anything? Everybody good? I mean, how you surviving them kids? Have you gone outside for a walk today? Did you find any toilet paper? I'm looking for something I can eat for supper. What y'all doing tonight? And all of your conversations went right back to the heart of what makes realtors amazing, which is our gift of asking great questions and listening to the answers and then developing solutions. Because those early phone calls of, I need to talk to somebody I do not live with, turned into, I don't know what to do. Can I sell my house? Will I catch the COVID if I sell? And then you had the people that said, I want to buy a house, but will I catch the COVID if I buy? And those quickly morphed into, are we in a bubble? Should I buy right now or should I wait? Is the market going to crash? And your sellers that say, should we sell now or should we go buy owner? Because I don't need you. Because I saw what you posted on Instagram about selling a house in 25 seconds to 1,000 people. Because y'all are killing yourselves and killing me with these Instagram post about selling a house too fast. Anyway, digression. So you listen to all of these people with all of their questions. They needed to have a crystal ball. And who'd they come to? Their realtor. Coronavirus sent people right back to us. In a world full of apps, right now, realtors are selling more houses than ever. I mean, in theory, we don't have enough to sell, but of what's on the market, we're selling it because people don't know what to do. You can't trust an app to tell you how to navigate COVID guidelines. You can't trust an app to tell you what to do when there's 1,000 offers on a house and you can't even look at it because the sellers have stopped showings. But realtors know what to tell people. And if you're the smart realtor, you tell people you don't make any promises. So when we think about this, the reality is there's this massive upward trend for some of y'all. You've had a great year. It's been awesome. You're making money hand over fist. Or you say you are on social media, but I think a lot of y'all are lying. When you had a great year, that means you're usually busy. But what does busy look like right now? Does busy look like exhausted because we work 7 days a week? And does busy look like exhausted because buyers don't listen to you until approximately house number 4.75? This is my non-scientific research. That's when they figure out that you were telling the truth about how they were going to have to structure things to win. And so you've been busy and you've been successful. But y'all, there's still a lot of realtors that are on the fear side of that one emotion, and they're still on the couch in their yoga pants and they don't know what to do. and maybe they're immune deficient and they're still super frightened about the COVID situation. And maybe they're caring for elderly parents, and maybe they just got paralyzed by the sheer amount of nastiness in the world. And so they don't know how to take the next step. And some of y'all are over here. There's a gap widening in realtor world. So how do you become the one that says, not doing it, not sitting on the couch, we're going to go somewhere, we're going to do things. I'm going to be the resource for all of my neighbors. Well, if you want to be the resource for your neighbors, you got to figure out, first of all, what you mean to them. And that word essential crept into our businesses a year and a little bit ago. We, as realtors, have always found ourselves to be essential because, let's just be honest, we believe we are the center of the universe. And why y'all don't call your past clients is because you think they're upset that you haven't called them. When, newsflash, they have forgotten about you and their life moved on without you. And I know that's hard to adjust to, but the reality is we forgot to tell people what we do for them. It's one of our biggest challenges in realtor space that we've ineffectively conveyed what realtors actually do. The public watches House Hunters and thinks that we are in 30 minutes showing 3 houses, sitting by a waterfront cafe, selecting one, and shazam, they get it. Because House Hunters doesn't talk about appraisal issues, doesn't talk about fungal growth in a house. It doesn't talk about, what do you do if the house had meth people in it? What do you do if the ex-wife won't sign the quitclaim deed? What do you do if the survey shows a fence encroachment? All of those things that happen are why you're essential, friends. And we have to redefine realtor world right now, because what you do is not put signs in yards, and what you do is not put houses in the multiple, and what you do is not unlock doors. Those are tasks that you perform. I can tell you in 3 words who you are, and in 3 words why your neighbors and friends and every random person who ever found out you were in real estate has called you for the last year and a half. You are a professional problem solver. That's why you're paid what you're paid. It's why you go through the heartache that you go through, and it's exactly why the public needs you. Because the things that they encounter in real estate are unknown as of today. And y'all know the same thing that I do. You walk into a house this afternoon, you do not know what you're walking into. And I'll give y'all an example. I went on a listing appointment this afternoon with some elderly people who both have dementia, but thank God they did power of attorney with their daughter before it got real bad. The house, they are the original owners. It was built in 1961. Do you know who built that house? My granddad did. So my dad's dad was a home builder. He built brick ranches because, you know, that's what we built in 1961. So I got to walk into a house that my granddad built. So I'm overcome with emotion. They're overcome with a lot of things. And sometimes they knew who I was and sometimes they didn't. And their daughter was handling things, and every room that we walked into had a different challenge to it. But why did they call me and not just sell it to a company that's not closed and is not windows? But they could have done that online. They didn't, because they didn't know how to navigate all the different options that were out there. You have to convey this message, friends. Coronavirus has given us a gift, a huge gift. All we have to do is open it. So if you want to open that gift, let's talk about what's available to you. Your realtors, did y'all know how much information is available to you? It's insane what's at nar.realtor. And in fact, it's too much for most of us, all of us. Frankly, it's just insane. Dr. Jessica Louts is one of the best gifts that we have at the association. You know, she's the demographics and statistics and numbers geek. Love her. So look at this interesting piece. This was a research piece that came out in 3rd quarter of last year. Why were people moving? And I want you to look at this because most realtors never talked about any of this. Look at the number 1 reason people were moving as of 3rd quarter of 2020, concerned about physical health. Now, those of y'all that are not young, is that the first time you would ever have heard a buyer say that? I mean, you occasionally, probably in Oregon, you have some people who got to get to Arizona and get to some dry air, but it would not be 52% of your phone calls. But that's what the public was thinking. They wanted to get out of dense areas. They wanted to change locations because for whatever reason, something had changed. They're thinking about their respiratory needs, their immuno needs. How do you survive in a pandemic? Did we talk about that in our marketing and messaging? Most of us didn't, because we all became epidemiological experts during the pandemic, let's be honest. But very rarely did we connect those dots to what our buyers were feeling and what our sellers were feeling. And yet this information is available to us. And then look at the red wedge. 20% of people wanting to move last year were concerned about social unrest. When has that ever been there? Probably in the 60s during the civil rights movement. I don't know that I've ever heard somebody tell me that until this year. And in North Carolina, I had people getting out of New York City, getting out of Charlotte proper into my small next door town of Concord because they wanted to be away from where the giant density was of protests and social unrest. Did we address that in a way that honored where buyers and sellers were? Look at the other two. They tied for 14%. The purple one, hello, alarm bells, pay big attention to this one because this should be in your marketing plan for the rest of this year and beyond. So this is a huge forward thinking piece. Did y'all realize that divorce filings are up 37% year over year? Highest increase we've ever seen. Separation filings are up 52%. People who looked at their person they're sleeping with and said, oh, I have changed my mind. We are done here. They would like to re-enter the housing market, but you know what? They haven't yet. Why? Because of the same supply issues that are plaguing the world, because you're thinking, hey, listing, whoop, whoop. But if that one listing turns into two buyers, that continues to exacerbate our supply issue. But we have to be prepared for it because when people are going through times of family change, who do they need? A professional problem solver. Why? Because he needs you to be there to not judge, but to ask questions and to be the one that says, here's an idea, here's an option, let's figure out solutions, because that's a really tense time for people. And realtors, I mean, y'all get invited to the kitchen table. We have this very odd professional job where we get paid thousands and thousands of dollars for people to tell us too much, and we don't even really have licenses for that. So also, spoiler alert, please stop telling people y'all are counselors and therapists unless one of y'all has that certification, because you may act in the regard of somebody telling you too much, but y'all are not licensed. So just, be careful. And on behalf of all your E&O providers, that is a gift to you today. Ta-da! And then look at the other one. This is probably the number one reason people moved prior to pandemic. I'm tired of my house. I would like something else. Well, pandemic exacerbated that because of home office needs and homeschool needs. And as we look at the numbers for the commercial market going forward, it looks like there's going to continue to be flexibility with work schedules for a long time. So if that's the case, ask yourself, we have the data available. What are each of us doing to weave this into our story to give people solutions, to let them know that we're not the realtors? I mean, you are, but we're 1.43 and change right now. But to the clients that call you, you're their neighbor. You're the person who knows their neighbor, who knows their friend. And so when they call you, if this is the primary concerns, have you asked enough questions to find this out so that you can serve? Whoa, there goes my light. That was wild. Highly recommend. Look, my whole studio setup is going to break up here in my dining room because of COVID world. Crisis averted. I'm a realtor. That's how we roll. But what I want you to think about is when the resources are available to you, are you tapping into it so that you can tap your neighbors into that information as well? And then the second piece of data that Jessica shared is pretty fascinating because it's higher than most of us would realize. 26% of the survey respondents are considering a second home. Well, why has that happened? First of all, interest rates, but second of all, I would like to be at the beach. And if I'm going to work from home, I'd just as well be at the beach as be here in my suburban house. So people are looking at second homes as something they can purchase now and enjoy it longer. Are you asking this question of the people you serve? Do they know that you've got connections, that through your realtor connectivity, you've got professionals in other markets who can help them make this happen? And by the way, to all you brokers in the room, look at that 34%. I would not want to be bothered with a second home. Y'all know that is just an objection, right? It's like, oh, I don't like the carpet. We know how to handle that. This is the person that doesn't know there's turnkey solutions, that doesn't know that you as a realtor may have, the ability to problem solve for them so that they can solve this. Spoiler alert here, y'all know that Fannie and Freddie started messing around with the second home guidelines about 2.5 weeks ago. If you are not paying attention to that because you don't work a second home market, highly recommend that you bring yourself up to speed so that you can still introduce the conversation. Why introduce it? Well, if you want to have a really good new real estate year, introduce another revenue stream based on a referral market. Huge opportunity. And all of this boils down to asking better questions. I will tell y'all a book that I've read. I've read a lot during the pandemic because I couldn't even get through Tiger King. It was too exhausting to me. Plus, I'm also licensed in South Carolina. I have been to that place at Barefoot Landing where that vagabond, sketchy man had his little white tigers. So when I saw somebody that I recognized, I realized I had to cut the TV off, read more books. The book I want y'all to read is called A More Beautiful Question. And I don't know who wrote it because I don't remember that off the top of my realtor head, but y'all have the Google machine or DuckDuckGo if you don't like Google. Look up A More Beautiful Question. Read that book. It's so impactful, not just for serving your clients, but for serving one another in association and leadership life. And frankly, let's just be honest, it could solve the entire world's problems if we would ask one another better questions and also listen to the answers more carefully, because that would solve most of the division we have in the world. Would y'all give me an amen on that? And I know that I'm right. So if we're going to ask great questions, let's think about what that looks like in our businesses. I love this picture, and y'all might have to zoom in on your screens to see it. The realtor's eyes are in big mode, which means she's showing something that matters. And the clients, the wife is looking up and out because she's listening with her body. The husband has his head tilted, which is listening with his body. And if you happen to be a millennial type human, body language is one of the challenges for the millennial and the Zoomer generation, because y'all just haven't spent as much time drinking with each other as us older people have. And this is critical to asking better questions when you start to see how people respond. And it's got nothing to do with mask and no mask. There are so many different ways that physically we respond to each other. Even if you have really loved Zoom, friends, you've got to get back with people in whatever way makes sense, whatever way, shape, or form you can create comfort in it. There is a massive amount of connectivity that comes from being able to point, listen, hear, and watch people react. Because we don't know here if she's showing them the power lines behind the property or she's showing them a garden out back where they can plant some tomatoes. We don't know. But all we know is that she listened enough to show them what mattered to them, and they responded in kind. That's what realtors do. Go back to what I said before about being a professional problem solver. When you've asked beautiful questions of your clients and you know how to dial in, well, friends, when you get that 12-minute showing window and you know what their top 3 items are, you can say, I love y'all. We have an online virtual tour. We've got Matterport and drone, the whole kit and caboodle, but we got 12 minutes. Your top 3 things that you said were X, Y, and Z, let's go. They will highly regard you for that respect of their time and for that fact that you listened so carefully that they feel heard and respected. Those are things apps can't do, hedge funds can't do, things that most realtors won't do. So if you think about what makes you so unique and different in the marketplace, it often boils down to, how do I handle that 12 minutes with my buyers? Well, back to those 12 minutes that you spend, how do you get back in front of people in a way that makes sense? Because I know everybody's in a different place on the COVID spectrum, y'all. There's people on this end that still believe we're in the Walking Dead and we're all going to die. And there's people on this end that say, this is a hoax. There was never a pandemic. We all know the reality of everything that we see is some gray area that lies in the middle. And the true professional learns how to bring the people from the edges back to a place of understanding and a place of moving forward. So what you'll see in my world, and you'll see this actually happen on Saturday, my big Shred Day event is happening Saturday. We did, this one was actually in September. It was put off because, of course, last March got canceled by the COVID. And we do this at our town hall. And we found that the most magical word you can use with a client event is contactless, because that's what responds to the neighbors in our community and where they are on the spectrum. The people that need a contactless environment feel welcomed to come. The ones that don't give a rip, well, they're going to come anyway. So you think about where you reach people where they are. Again, the gift of an amazing realtor who listens to the community. And what we did this past spring that we'll be doing again, you see my 2 ladies there in the blue shirts. They are working on their Habitat house. They're so close and they're accumulating their hours. Well, last year, when you look at the coronavirus era, there's a lot of organizations in and around your community that didn't have the same opportunities they are used to having. In Habitat, you have to accumulate 250 hours of sweat equity before you get your home. Well, the store was closed and homeowners couldn't come on job sites because we had to social distance. So these ladies were pretty much dead in the water to get their hours. Well, I'm on the Habitat board, so I had some little inside skinny as to how we were going to get them moving through the pipeline because they needed to get out of the substandard housing they were in. And I said, well, what if they just come out and help my team at Shred Day? Can they get hours for that? Yes, absolutely. They get hours. And so the two of them came out. We're actually real friends now because we've spent so much time together. I saw them yesterday at a Habitat house dedication. And I got to hear the daughter tell me about her college plans because she graduates in 2 months. And what happened here is those homeowners were able to connect Habitat to our community and to tell our community, this is the face of Habitat. This is your neighbor who is looking for a different life, a different opportunity, who needs a way into this generational wealth place but doesn't have the traditional resources. Oh my gosh, y'all. It's a way to tell the people around you that you're looking for something more than commission dollars. Professional problem solvers do that. They would think about the community around them more than, I sold 18 houses today. I'm #blessed. How much of our messaging needs to start evolving into something that's bigger than ourselves? I mean, maybe it's just because I'm middle-aged, but we have to think bigger than just the little shell that the Lord has placed us in. And by the way, as you do this volunteer space, don't forget that President Charlie has his 5 million hour challenge where we're hoping to showcase to the world exactly how much realtors do in their communities, because you guys do a lot, whether it's serving on boards of directors or it's picking up trash, volunteering at battered women's shelters, doing things with the Arts Council. You're all over the place. So if you'll go to nar.realtor/RGN, as in realtors are good neighbors, log your hours. This is not some kind of a big brother sketchy thing. It's just a chance for us to say as realtors, we do a lot and we would like the world to know that we absolutely are more than signs in yards. So make sure that you log your hours over there. And by the way, I got to tell y'all, my little picture of my Shred Day. You see that young man, George, he works for the Shred company that we use, and he's been with us for several years now. He was single. He has effectively been set up by my team. And so we are about to be announcing a happy engagement and marriage based on Lee Brown's team Shred Day. And that's going to be a huge community service because I'm pretty sure my Shred Day is about to bring children into the world. And I'm very proud of that. And so as we think about what we do in community and what we do to build our world up, don't forget that April is Fair Housing Month. You're going to see a lot of this messaging out there. And this is my favorite of the NAR graphics. There's 3 main graphics, but I think this one is the most elegant and cute. So, use whichever one you want. But they're at nar.realtor. What if you just start plugging this into your social feed occasionally? Just throw it in here and there. You don't have to be nonstop with just one topic. But if you start making your topic more of a tapestry of ideas and information, and your feed starts to look a little more robust. And oh, by the way, somebody sees this and says, what do realtors have to do with that? And you can say, well, this realtor cares about all neighbors. That's why in my office and on my team, nobody refers to leads as leads. If a call comes in, that's a neighbor. If somebody wants us to sell a house, that's a neighbor. Because what that's training us to do is treat everyone with a little more respect. And that's what gets a lot of people over the finish line that they think is unattainable. Well, when you think about this space that we want to create, I'm going to ask y'all for 12 minutes. Now, I asked y'all for that before in thinking about another topic, but this one, I need y'all to raise your hand, and you can do it in the chat or on your little screen for those of y'all that have your face turned on. Would you give 12 minutes to any phone call that comes in your business? Just 12. To any phone call, any suspect buyer or seller. Okay. I like how Gail is hilarious. She's like, I'm going to raise my hand kind of because I'm not really sure what I'm agreeing to here. So I love you for that, Gail. And plus Pocatello is one of the prettiest places on earth. So high five, sister, because you're a lucky girl. Here's what I want that 12 minutes to look like. You've had this phone call. Hey, Lee Brown. Hey, I got your name from Gail, and we want to buy a house. We don't know what to do. The super hesitant, super nervous person, and you're a realtor. You're like, oh, friend, that is fantastic. I have got some lender partners. Let's get you pre-approved, get you ready to go. And you make the connection, and you're like, I am so amazing. I have connected them to the best lender ever. And then your lender calls you back and says, girl, we got a 460 credit score over here. This ain't happening. Not now, not ever. You've had that happen, right? We've all had that happen. You have the person who would like to, and it looks pretty insurmountable. What do most realtors do at that point? Drop it. Throw it away. Can't help them. don't have the bandwidth, don't have the time. Oh, well, they write it off. That's most realtors. Let's just be honest with ourselves. The really good realtors call them back and say, hey, friend, so I understand that Marion gave you some steps to get you ready to buy, and you'll be ready in a couple of years. Just want you to know I'm here for you, and I'm ready to help when you are. That's the really good realtors, right? They go ahead and call them back and say, hey, we got you a plan, you can go. And then what do? What do these really good realtors do? They drop that person on their drip campaign. Oh, here's the newsletter information for curb appeal for your house. What? It's a bunch of random stuff that means nothing to this person. And a lot of our lender partners put them on automated drip campaigns with a bot that says, oh, you should know this for your credit score and this and this. And nothing's personal. So I got to remind y'all of something as we look at the humanity that surround us. Before COVID, but especially exacerbated during COVID, a lot of our neighbors don't have resilience anymore. You've seen this. People get one knock and they're down for the count. They don't bounce back up like weebles used to do. Remember, weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. People fall down now. But we're realtors. You realize one of our primary skills as realtors is we are natural encouragers. We cheer for people. We are optimistic and cheerful and positive, and we have smiles on our faces at all the wrong times, which is one of our gifts. So why do we push that to the side in favor of crappy newsletters and automated prefab campaigns? Maybe that 12 minutes could change that resiliency for that person. So here's what I want you to do. A paper calendar. Yes, I'm old. And so you can use a Google one if you want to, but I do not understand you people who can live a paperless life. I can't do it. Whatever. So what I want you to do is today is April 14th. So the phone call that comes in today, I'm going to tab out 6 months and let's go to October 14th. And I'm going to write down the name and the phone number. And I'm going to do that over a 3-year period every 6 months. I'm going to budget 2 minutes. That's your 12 minutes, friends. It is 6 2-minute phone calls. And here's what I'm going to say when I call them. I'm going to say, hey, friend, this is Lee Brown with One Community. And you and I spoke about 6 months ago, and you had a list of things to do that Marion gave you. I just want to know how it's going. You can get there. I'll be here for you. Just let me know if you need help. You're going to get screened, okay? Just so you know, they're going to send you to voicemail. That's why you can budget 2 minutes for it. They didn't want to hear from you because they haven't done anything. Y'all know this. Here's the magic sauce, though. At the 12-month phone call, when you call and check in, they're going to answer, or they're going to call you back. And they'll say, well, we weren't sure. Do we pay off the medical bills first or the Target card? We're not sure what to do. You're like, I don't know. I'm not the money person. Let's tag Marion in and use that merge function on your phone and bring her in and say, hey, I was talking to Alex again, and Alex wasn't sure what to do next. Can you help with the guidance? Do you realize how many people you could bring over the finish line just by being an encourager? Just by being somebody who doesn't call and become all salesy and icky, and also who doesn't treat them like they're just another name and another email address. I don't know why we do this, y'all. Why do we brag about 12,000 names in our database when we don't take care of those 12,000 neighbors? You don't have the bandwidth for 12,000. You could do a much better job, though, for the people who need you the most. And here's the difference. Here's why I want you to think about this differently. The numbers are insane. And this is the one stat I want you to burn into your brain. It burned into mine when Dr. Lawrence Yun said it in 2019. And it drives everything that we do in our sales meetings in my office, and it drives my phone calls. And I want you to think about this stat as you drive your business forward. If you get to the age of 65 and you're the average American, and let's say you've spent your life renting, you know what your average savings is in your account? $6,000. 6. That's it. Well, why, Lee? Well, y'all know rents escalate. Right now, they're escalating at an insane amount. Wages can grow, but not always at the same rate as inflation and the same rate as rents and everything else. Somebody who's a renter tends to have that financial mindset of, ooh, new iPhone, $1,000, no big deal, charge it. The money gets away. And a lot of it's due to financial education that's just got so many holes in it and frankly is non-existent. But they get to 65 and you got $6,000 and your company says it's time to retire. What do? Go to work at Walmart as a greeter, go to the car dealership and drive the shuttle, or just become a realtor. I mean, you just dress up and drive around. It's no big deal. And so people just go land somewhere else because they can't stop. $6,000. Now let's look at the other side. That same 65-year-old who's retirement eligible, but they're a homeowner. Average savings for that homeowner, $200,000. Tell me that's not a gap. And what does that $200,000 mean? Well, it doesn't mean they're comfortable enough to stop working because we know they've got a lot of years left. But it does mean they have some financial stability. And it means that when the husband falls down and breaks his hip, they've got an equity line probably they could tap into to pay for the medical bills. And then their daughter calls and says, Mama, I have got to come home. I am done with this deadbeat. And she says, baby, you come on. And baby says, but I've got this pit. And she says, it's my house. You bring my grand pit on too, because it's their house. They can say yes. There's so much more to houses than money. And I think we forget that piece. We forget that for so many people, the house is their freedom to take care of their loved one. It is their freedom to have some kind of financial something in the future. Every phone call, y'all, you can't bring everybody around. You can't save everybody with a 460 credit score because not everybody wants it. That's okay. What's not okay is if you're the realtor who didn't fully dial into educating them and encouraging them along the path. Because if each of us got 2 of our neighbors out of the hundreds of phone calls that we get every year, if you got 2 more neighbors to that level, wouldn't that be a legacy to leave? Wouldn't that be a legacy that told those kids, you're going to do better in school now because stability leads to better schoolers in school? And healthcare, did y'all realize that housing actually is healthcare and people that are in owned homes have better health over time and have a lower Medicaid burden in the market? That's how big of a deal you are. And so if I ever hear any of you say that you are just a realtor, I will poke you in the eye with a dull fork myself because I am tired of realtors denigrating themselves. And we do it all the time. I'm just a realtor. No, put your shoulders back. I'm a realtor and I am a professional problem solver. And if you got questions, I might not have the foggiest idea what the answer is, but I got somebody I can ask. That's what changes everything for our neighbors, y'all. It's not about being a person on Facebook who types in all caps with a bunch of exclamation points and who shares a graphic one time and says, I've done my activism. No, your job as a realtor is to take such excellent care of the people who call you because they're your neighbors. That's what solves everything frankly, in life. So for those of y'all that are asking about my campaign or CRM, I use KV Core for my business and I don't really like it, but I had to get it because as a brokerage, it had the bells and whistles I needed. When I was not running my own brokerage, I liked Chime, like the chime of a doorbell. I think it is a very good solution. And for a drip campaign, it is all Lee Brown. I do not purchase anything because I'm a big snob about content. In fact, y'all are welcome to look at what I do online, take it and make your own version, because if you use a drip campaign, did y'all know there's a little pencil up in the corner? And if you mash it, you can edit. What? I know, it's shocking. If realtors would just edit the daggum subject line, it wouldn't look so canned all the time. I know when y'all get something you send out from what you purchased because you all got me on your email list and my email box fills up and I'm like, And this one mortgage company, I won't call their name, but Movement Mortgage sends out this one, whoever proofreads it has poor grammar skills. And so there's grammatical errors in the subject line. So who calls them every time? Only Brown does, because Casey's a friend of mine. And I said, I know you're tired of me calling you, but would you please give some grammar skills to the people who send out your campaign emails? So that's why you better be cognizant of what you're sending out. So anywho, y'all would like to know what I do to contact people and take care of them. I try to answer the phone. I know this is wild and crazy, but when it rings, I hit accept and not decline. People ask me, why do I sell so many houses? I say, I talk to people on the phone. I know it's crazy. So make sure you do that. And if you can't answer it, then call them right back, lickety split. It's very important. And then I will send that video message. Y'all don't have to hear me say this. I've been doing this for years. I send it through my cell phone. I say, hey, I'm Lee Brown with One Community. I'm the one that's going to be calling you and emailing you, and I'm a person and not a bot. you'll get a huge response from that, friends, because you're a human. People love hearing your voice and seeing your eyes. And if you're just typing out some boring autoresponder that says, I'm glad to set you up on a VIP home search to alert you to what fits your needs, you know you're losing most of your business, right? So quit using bots. And then I send a text that says, hey, I just called you back. Hey, I sent you a video. You didn't watch it yet. Are you a texter? And what you'll see is over my 8-step process here, it is a mix of telephone, video, text, and email. And I do that because until they respond and we can have a conversation, I don't know what channel is their preferred channel. So I'm using my 8-step process to find out where their channel is located. And if you want to know how we track this, I'm very cheap. Spoiler alert, that's how I can pay for my Hall of Fame RPAC pin. I use Google Sheets. And I have 8 little columns out there beside every name so that I can put a date and initials in each column to make sure that every person who reached out was reached back to at least 8 times to start a conversation. And I'll tell y'all a secret on number 8. When I leave that last message, here's what I tell them. I say, hey, friend, you have not responded to my videos, text, phone calls, or emails. I can only assume that you are not ready to talk to me yet because I haven't pestered you enough to tell me to go away. You should know that I have 12 years left on my mortgage, and so I am here and ready to help you at any point in the next 12 years. Year 13, no promises. I get the best response back from that because first of all, it makes me human and real. Second of all, it takes all the pressure off. And third, y'all, we got to put more humor back into our lives. I don't know why so many of us are so boring and dreadful and rolling around with sticks in our backsides. So we got to lighten it up a little bit. Let people laugh. Their defensive walls come down. Marion, how do I keep my team motivated and healthy? Well, they have to keep themselves healthy. Look, I stay on them. Take their vitamin D, get outside and walk. Go to the end of the driveway and back. If you're out of shape and you can go further than the end of your driveway, go to the next driveway. There's zero excuse to me. And I know that sounds like I'm mean and bossy, but you are in charge of your health, right? And I do tell them not to lick strangers because I'm pretty sure that's where the COVID comes from. All the research keeps changing. I just tell them not to lick people. And then to keep them motivated, I talk to them and I check in with them. And frankly, I drop food off. I like to feed people, which is probably why they should be exercising too. Because y'all watch my cooking show. Everything I cook has butter and sugar in it because that's how we roll in my office. And here's the other way I keep them motivated, Mary. And thank you for the segue setup. I appreciate it. This is my rule in my office. I ask everybody for 1 call a day. We have a Slack channel that's set up. And at 8 a.m., it pings with everybody saying, made my call, made my call, made my call. Now, why do we do it at 8 a.m.? Because most people are up and moving at 8 a.m. in some way, shape, or form. And spoiler alert, friends, if they're not awake, they can hit decline. They'll be all right. You don't have to sit here and question yourself as to, oh, what if I wake them up? If you woke somebody up at 8 o'clock, then they might not be buying a house. Let's just be honest. But we make that phone call. And here's who we make it to. In your phone, there's this little contact manager, not your official CRM where your newsletter stuff goes out, but the one where all the people you like are. You've saved some people in your phone, and there's other people you save them as DNA. Y'all know what that means, right? Do not answer. So that's not the person you call. You're going to call the good ones, though. In my team, I ask my team at 8 a.m. every day to call somebody they like and likes them back, somebody they love who loves them back, not necessarily related to real estate. Because too many of us, we work nonstop and we start our day with leads from the interwebs that call us names and cuss us out and they're ugly to us. Why aren't we starting our day with people that we enjoy? I find that when I call my mom every day, because that's who I call because I have her. And those of y'all that don't have your mama, you wish you could call her, tell the truth. Or maybe your daddy, or maybe your best friend, or somebody that you really, really miss. You go back and call them if you could. So at 8 a.m., I call her and she tells me the same thing pretty much every day, repeats herself, but that's fine because I feel good after I talk to mama. And then I can call a lead. And if that lead's ugly to me, it's fine because I remember that mama loves me. If you start your day with negative, you're going to get more negative. But if you start your day with positive, you can start to neutralize some of that negative. And by the way, this is the other trick to keeping my team motivated. People need to know what to do. We're in real estate. It's kind of a loosey-goosey profession. Nobody gives you many guidelines, and discipline is a miracle if it ever happens. So in my world, I want my people to know what to do when the phone does ring. So I use my intake sheets. And any of y'all that have heard me speak, you know I talk about this, pretty much in every presentation. because realtors need consistency. And I'm making this download available to y'all that don't have it. I'll give you the code at the end. I print the seller ones on yellow paper. Why? So I can find it. I print the buyer ones on blue. Why? So I can find it. And look, I'll prove to y'all that I practice what I'm preaching. I'm looking in my tote bag here beside me. There's a buyer sheet and there's a seller sheet. And our people been clear so I can find them, because I can't find things on my desk. Every other paper is white. It's a septic map or an MLS sheet or a tax card. I've got to find my neighbors who needed my help. So when the phone rings, this is also, by the way, the best way to be a proponent of fair housing. What you do for one, you do for all. Somebody calls and says, Lee Brown, I want to sell my house. That come list me call that makes all of y'all's hearts just get all warm and fuzzy right now. Instead of saying, I'll be there in 5 minutes or 4 minutes if I catch the lights. Please don't call anybody else. I'm on my way. I can sell. I got 5 buyers in my back pocket. Just hang on a second. That's what your reaction is right now because of the inventory situation. Here's my response. Well, fantastic. May I ask you a few questions? And what do they all say, y'all? They say, sure. And now I can ask them what? Everything. One of our issues as realtors is we forget to ask permission. But when you ask permission and it's granted, do you know what you can ask? You can ask everything. And with buyers, when they call and start hollering at me, they want to see this house and you're the listing agent. You have to say, may I ask you a few questions? Yes. Well, I can chill them out by asking questions because then they know I'm a professional. And if they say, no, you will not ask me questions and you're going to show me the house, I go and I hang up and I pretend Verizon had a bad signal because I'm passive aggressive like many of you. But if they're going to be ugly to me and not let me ask questions as a professional, they're not looking for a realtor. So my most important thing is what you do for one, you do for all, which includes Zoom. And so whenever I had this inquiry from a buyer or seller, I offer them a Zoom consult. Would you prefer to meet by Zoom or in person? Because I'm going to get to the in-person meeting. Well, let's just be honest. But if they're not ready yet, I'm not going to shove them there. I'm going to talk to them by Zoom. And you should know, by the way, your major investor pin shows up nicely on Zoom. It gives you a chance to talk about how you're the realtor who's invested in more than just that one buyer or that one seller. You're invested in the whole future of their property rights and their kids and grandkids too. Just saying. You should also make sure that you're taking the advantage of all the opportunities we have to move ourselves forward. Again, back to health. This is your choice to take great educational classes. Y'all chose to be here today, and I'm grateful. Y'all could be like many of your colleagues who said they were too busy for the Region 12 meeting and who missed the lineup that Tiffany has worked her batucas off to put together for you and would not have known all of these vendors who dialed in and said, we want to be with our realtors in whatever way we can. So those colleagues didn't choose this. That's fine. That's their choice. Don't give them all the secrets I've given y'all today, okay? So this is their fault for missing out. But for the rest of y'all, pick a designation, get it. And maybe it will suck. And maybe the instructor is the worst thing you've ever heard. There's always one pearl you can pull out of every class. That's one of the things I learned from Howard Brenton, who was the best instructor we ever had in real estate. And golly, I miss Howard. But he always said that, find a pearl. He also used to say, get out of judgment and into curiosity. So don't we need some Howard in this world? My time is up. So I want y'all to think about this. Look up, look out, get out of your own way. Quit telling yourself there's no inventory. Quit telling yourself you can't win in multiple offers. Quit telling yourself that COVID is going to keep you from doing business. You have to tell yourself that if I look up and I look out and I take what I've learned, I can put it to action for all the neighbors around me who need me. And where you're going to start with this, friends, ask people how they are. And then shut up long enough to listen to them, because people are going to drop a lot of clues to you. And if you're the realtor who listens, you've just future casted your business forever. Now, I gave y'all this link before. Please go in and log your hours so that we can look as an organization and see how many awesome hours we have. And then for my intake sheets, that's where they're located. You can go to learnwithlee.com. And if you're allergic to that, you can text the word kicktail to this 877 number. So pick your poison, text or email, take a little screenshot of this window, although it's recorded. So Tiffany's going to hook y'all up with all of this. And thank you. I wish I were with y'all. I love you. I'm grateful to each of you. And I'm so grateful to see so many friends that decided to come hang out this afternoon. Even those of y'all that have heard me speak before, y'all could have been anywhere else, but you're here with your colleagues And if there's anything that we as realtors do to drive our profession forward, it's the way that we treat each other first. And then that's going to bleed over into how we treat our neighbors in our communities. So that being said, I guess I'll give it back now to the boss with her really great hair, like 2 days in a row, Tiffany. I would like to know what your product is, but I wasn't asking you questions. That was you asking me things.
I just adore you. I can't thank you enough. This is exactly what I needed today. And at the Zoom, the chat box is saying the same thing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome. This is exactly what we needed. A nice reset. And I'm looking forward to seeing you soon as well. Awesome. All right, you guys, we are almost at the end of our program. So we're going to have another drawing. So we have another $250 gift card courtesy of Realtor.com. A special thanks to Realtor.com and all of our sponsors for stepping up today and providing us with the prizes for the event, and really more than anything, just their continued support of us as realtors. Before we select our last winner, please listen to this quick message from Realtor.com.
Hey everyone! Over the past year, we've listened to you, the industry, and some said that Realtor.com has lost its way and we're just like the other portals. So we put together a new webinar that directly addresses these topics and so much more. We'll show you how Realtor.com's vision supports realtors for the long term. And we'll discuss our relationship with the NAR, our shared brand, and how we are truly different from other portals. We'll talk about our free tools and why any of this should matter to you. You might just find that we are more aligned for long-term realtor success than you think. More details coming soon. We hope to see you there.
Thank you again, Realtor.com. And now for our drawing, let's give the prize wheel one final spin. Congratulations, Stacy McClure. You are the winner of our $250 gift card. And again, thank you for your support, Realtor.com. So before we close, we have a couple dates to remember. Coming up, NAR 360 is April 21st at 1 p.m. Central Time. That'll be on Facebook Live. Second, our Region 12 caucus meeting will be May 13th. From 3:30 to 5 p.m. Central Time. You can register for this event and for our legislative meetings at www.nar.realtor. With that, we are at the end of our program today, our Region 12 virtual conference. Again, it's been said many times, we'd love to have been together, but I hope that you have enjoyed our meeting today. It has absolutely been my honor to serve as your host today and your RVP this year. I am so thankful that you have joined us. I'd like to take this opportunity to say a huge thank you. Thank you is not enough to David Hensley and Amanda Pinnell from Idaho Realtors for their incredible support and tireless work that has brought this event to life. I want to thank our team here at Valiant Productions. What a pleasure it has been to work with you. I want to thank our state CEOs and staff of our region. Let's be real, you keep this ship heading in the right direction. And to my fellow realtors, your service to our members, your service to your communities and your clients is remarkable and absolutely unsurpassed. For some, volunteering is about giving, but for you, Region 12, it is a way of life. Thank you again for joining us today. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you May 13th for our Region 12 caucus. Have a great day, everybody.
And you fall to the ground, you must find a way. When the darkness descends and you're told it's the end, you must find a way. When God decides to look the other way and a clown takes the throne, we must find a way. Face the firing squad. Against all the odds, you find a way. Dig down, dig down, dig down, and find faith when you're close to the edge, with a gun to your head.